Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Intermission. This week we're talking about the future of Star Wars. There's been a ongoing tidal wave of more and more shit happening in the Star Wars news department ever since Lucasfilm got bought by Disney, and it's come to a head in the last week or two with the announcement that beyond J.J. Abrams, Rian Johnson, our old pal, will be writing and directing the next two in the trilogy, and we, generally speaking, I speak for the trees here, don't want to do this again. So next time we talk about Star Wars will be a commentary in a few years.
No, we're not getting away with that.
Well, we'll see what happens.
You know,
we should try though.
Yeah.
In any case,
I agree.
I support the trying, but I don't anticipate.
I wanted,
success.
yeah. That's one of the reasons. I mean, I'll take the credit or blame that this topic was my suggestion, just because it's like let's just get this out of the way now and say everything that really there is to be said, and we can just ignore the next 18 months.
So that we don't have to be like, oh, they post, we don't have to do Star Wars watch.
Ford has a hangnail. No, stop the presses.
So
that is pretty amazing, though. That if you're listening from the future, this is the week that there was the announcement that Harrison Ford, he was taken off the set because he'd first he'd injured his ankle, then it was broken his ankle, then it was broken his leg. I'm like, okay, next week he's gonna be dead.
I know.
He's gonna be septic by Tuesday. Anyway, I'm sorry, I skipped the entire intro part.
It's the joke about the cat. It's like you don't tell me the cat's dead right away. You tell me the cat's on the roof. Oh, he fell. Oh, we have to take him to the vet.
Yeah.
We're on the way to the vet. We're at the vet. Vet says it's gonna be okay. Something happened.
Oh, we took a turn for the worse.
The cat died.
Oh. How's Grandma? Grandma fell off the roof.
Well, she's on the roof. She's playing on the roof.
Harrison Ford fell off the Millennium Falcon. You guys, it's gonna be okay. Anyway, myself as always, T. Christie, my friend Brian William Fenifter.
Greetings.
Michael Dorkman Scott.
Hello.
And Trey the Amazing Stokes.
What?
So Star Wars, I was surprised that Trey brought it up, because usually you're the one who's more like, let's just not even talk about this shit until it's out.
Well, I basically I just want to take credit for calling it about a year ago about what's happening now. That's all. I just wanted to get my attaboy for
What specifically?
nailing. Well, we're gonna it's a broader picture, but it just well the real reason is because we were just we needed to do an episode, and it's like we didn't really have anything to talk about. It's like, well,
there sure is some Star
we
Wars
sort
happening.
of started with the Star Wars thing, and it's really
We sure
has
are
been
tired of all these Star Wars.
Yeah, really, and it's just that it is really interesting that you're really you're really seeing. We're finally seeing, what's it going to mean when Disney takes over Lucasfilm and starts to manage Star Wars as a property? It's like we're seeing what's happening now, and it's actually it's not surprising at all what's happening, and it's I'm going to go on a limb and say it's mostly awesome what they're doing with Star Wars.
I'm good so far.
Yeah,
I was just listening this morning to our Disney buys Lucasfilm podcast from a couple of years ago just to kind of catch up on it. And
when we're like, oh my god, you guys, what's happening?
That is some look, dude, we have a podcast, so that's a dorky baseline just to start with.
Yeah.
Our first episode was a Star Wars thing, and then you can just keep adding layers and layers of dork on top of that. I have never heard us be such dorks as on that episode.
when we were contemplating what it meant for the future of the fan film industry and world,
the whole thing, and about, oh my god, who's it going to be? And we I called J.J. Abrams. I think everyone called J.J. Abrams. Later, I said it was going to be Gore Verbinski. I thought it was a safe bet at the time. But the JJ thing
not a bad.
It still could be.
Yeah, it's
and it's just
going to be everyone now. That's the great thing.
The cool and the recent one is I wouldn't have ever called Rian Johnson.
Yeah.
I like Rian Johnson. I like his sensibility and him personally.
Yeah.
I had
friend of the show, Rian
Yeah.
Johnson.
Hi, Ryan. We wish you luck, bro. Like all the luck in the world, because
absolutely.
Dear God, please don't let me fuck this up.
Yeah, that was about the best possible response right there.
Yeah, anytime you can throw right stuff at my Star Wars news, I'm happy about it. But I wouldn't have called Rian Johnson. I would have seen it as being a JJ or a Joss or like a Gore Verbinski, someone who's been handling these big tentpole genre movies. And Ryan's, I think of more like an indie guy. Like I think of him in terms of being the guy who makes these little cool think pieces and great episodes of Breaking Bad and shit. Not
but I mean, I think.
Then again, so was Joss before Avengers.
Yeah,
I mean, everybody eventually gets that promotion.
Yeah,
Looper was a step in that direction.
Yeah, that was a big enough movie. And Gareth Edwards is only one movie from being Mr. Super Indie Dude.
Mm-hmm.
This is true.
Speaking of which,
after Godzilla,
credit card financing filmmaker guy. Yeah.
What was your guys' reaction to the Rian Johnson thing?
I'm a fan. I like Rian Johnson. We have our issues with Looper, as we talked about in the commentary, but
and talked about with him.
Yes, and he's aware of them.
Oddly enough, but obviously overall, I mean, he's it's exactly what you say. Like him and his sensibility and who he is as a person. His Breaking Bad Ozymandias episode is amazing. So it comes back down to the same with Abrams and most directors. That's like, as long as they have a script that is solid, I'm good. So
And
Kasdan
as long as Kasdan's still in there,
exactly,
I'm totally down.
Kasdan underneath Abrams, I'm good with, and as long as Kasdan is still underneath Rian Johnson, I'm really good. So, despite the fact that Looper is a little shaky on some aspects, I'm still very, very happy.
I don't care what the sexual position is, so long as one of the sexual partners is Lawrence Kasdan.
That's right. That's right. Oh, I'll watch any porn with Lawrence Kasdan.
Yeah. Missionary, doggy,
Top,
whatever.
bottom,
Just,
whichever. You
know what it is? I just like seeing Kasdan in that
cosplay,
way.
water sports. As long as Kasdan's on screen, I'm renting it.
In case you don't happen to know this, I'm assuming if you're watching a video of people talking about Star Wars on the internet, you know this. But people have been talking.
They know
about,
more about it than we do, probably.
Like, the sort of unholiness of having different directors for like even a trilogy, not even different movies, but a trilogy. They should all like the original trilogy was 3 different directors.
Yeah, it's
the only time there was all the same director was the prequels.
And that was and that to me that was the most exciting thing about the Harry Potter movies when they were changing things up and we were seeing different things, and that I think for what it's worth benefited the Twilight movies to keep changing things up, and it benefited the Hunger Games, although it's all Francis Lawrence from here on out. But
I think people tend to forget that the single director trilogies is really more of a development of
George,
the prequels. Yeah. It wasn't until
I thought you were gonna go fucking what's his name, that guy.
The guy.
Who's that guy? Who's the guy that used to do Star Wars?
Jabba-neck bulge guy.
Yeah.
Fuck you, Rick Berman.
Yeah, I mean, because it was X-Men it wasn't until the kind of the prequel era, and maybe X-Men with X1 and X2.
Well, what usually
with Bryan Singer and Sam Raimi and Spider-Man.
Well, that's exactly it. What would usually happen in a trilogy, like the trope culturally was what would happen in a trilogy is the same person would do the first and the second, and then the third would be some random someone else would come in and fuck it all up. Like
right.
that was always the thing.
What's weird? Well, and from my perspective, to me, trilogies are still an aberration. Yeah. That's like, you didn't make 3 of the same damn movie. That's Star Wars started that nonsense, and then Back to the Future kind of did it, and then it's like, oh, now everyone's gonna and 3, let's stop it. Why stop at 3? Let's make 9 of them. The only series that really qualifies for that is James Bond. Was the aberration that was like, we're just going to keep making these things. We're just going to keep grinding them out.
James Bond just became like a big budget movie theater TV show.
Yeah,
and that's fun when they keep changing directors too.
Well, it's like, and that's what I'm kind of getting at here is like when Disney bought Lucasfilm, there's a plus and a minus to it, and they're the same to me. They're the flip side of exactly the same coin. As soon as Disney bought Lucas, I said, "Wow, we are going to get all the Star Wars we can possibly stand," and then some. They are going to sell us every flavor of Star Wars in every size box that they can. If we'll buy it, they will give it to us. Which, okay, because there's no greater force for marketing in the universe than the Disney marketing machine. That's just how it is.
The Disney ecosystem, as they call it.
But the flip side of that, I think we're starting to see the avalanche starting to happen. Yes, they're selling us every possible Star Wars they can come up with, but what that's going to do, I think, it's very positive for Star Wars in terms of the movie component of it, because obviously Star Wars has a whole, the whole EU and the books and everything else. But in terms of the movies have always been so goddamn precious because they were just George's thing, and it's like George said this, and George, it had to be, and he got a little just like early Star Trek versus Next Gen Star Trek everything was a little precious, and it took a couple of seasons for Next Gen to get off of that holiest of holies vibe and just remember to tell good stories and have some fun with the concept of Star Trek. And part of that was because Gene Roddenberry was being phased out of the process, and other people were starting to take it and reinterpret it, and take that as a starting point, but then go off in some interesting new directions with it, and
not think about it as like I'm writing the New Testament.
Exactly.
Just be like, you're writing more stories.
To the point where Star Trek is now, there's so much media of Star Trek that you can pick and choose. You can go, oh, I didn't like the Next Gen, but I really liked Voyager. Well, I didn't really care for Enterprise, but I really liked the original series. Well, I like the first movies, but I don't like the Abrams movies. 10 years from now, that's Star Wars. Just like 10 years ago, this was starting for Marvel. Disney was starting like, oh, they're making a Marvel movie. I hope that turns out. Well, now they make nothing but Marvel movies because we will take a Marvel movie. And you can pick and choose. You can go, well, the Avengers was awesome, but the Young Lee Hulk was bullshit. But you don't have to get caught up in it. You just pretend that one didn't exist. You just like ignore that one. So as far as this one is like, it's great because if Abrams' Star Wars isn't that great, well, Rian Johnson's might be awesome, and Gareth Edwards might suck but be interesting, and we can just sort of Star Wars is just sort of a thing, and it's not going to be these six little jewels that have to be defended or whatever.
And you could even be like, I don't even like most of the Star Wars movies I've seen, but the third TV show I saw on ABC, that was the good show. I got really into the like Angel of Star Wars.
yeah,
exactly.
The second spinoff TV show.
It's absolutely true, but in doing that, it like you say, it's two sides of the same coin because you're diluting Star Wars. I can't believe that I, of all people, almost made that mistake.
Wow,
you're diluting Star Wars.
Did you almost say Star Trek?
Yes, I did.
Yeah,
it's diluting it, but by so doing, it's like you can. When there were only going to be 6 movies, it's like it mattered.
It
that
just you
they
lived
were
and died by. Oh my god, it's gonna
like
be awesome.
If episode 1's not good, it's like okay, 1/6 of this is officially not good, and there's nothing we can do about it.
And there's a lot of people who are just like, but it's good. No, it's good. It's good. It's good. I have too much invested in it.
Yeah,
I've like 6 more Star Wars movies down the road. Maybe we can have that intervention with people who are like, okay, the prequels were really not that good.
Yeah,
you can let it go. You can let that go.
I feel like there's.
I mean, it's almost.
I don't feel like there's anybody left, by and large, that still will defend the prequels.
Yeah, they'll defend it nostalgic wise. They'll do the thing that we say about movies that we know are it's like I know it's
the
bad,
way the way people defend the Goonies.
Yeah, exactly.
But have you watched it lately? God, no.
Oh man, I'm so glad there's like a pushback on the Goonies finally because I was like, I don't understand.
I completely missed the Goonies as a child. I had not seen the Goonies until like 6 months ago.
Yeah. Me too, and I still haven't seen the Goonies.
Yeah,
like I just missed that one.
I was like, okay, I get why this was a thing, but this is not good.
Yeah. In the chat, Morgan, who's a Disney employee, is like, I haven't seen much new merch at the parks yet, but it's coming.
It's coming.
Winter is coming.
Yes. Oh, winter is. Oh, sweet summer
Star Wars
child.
Land.
Yeah.
Which Star Wars Land completely on board with.
Yeah.
Totally on board.
Once episode 7 drops, you will never see anything else. That's just from then on.
That's the thing. Yeah, you haven't. It hasn't started. It really hasn't started.
There's going to be like Iron Man and Star Wars crossovers.
Like they are gathering their forces. The wildlings are grouping on the far side of the wall.
Mance Raider is.
You have no idea what's coming, but they're that's why they're just sort of clearing the tracks and softening up the ground. Okay, here they come.
Speaking of the Game of Thrones overlap, Gwendolyn Christie is going to be in the Star Wars movie, and if she does not play the most badass Jedi of all time, that is an enormous crime.
There is a plot problem.
There is a plot problem.
No, I'm sorry. No, she should be a princess. She should
be the most badass princess Jedi of all time.
She's the new princess archetype. Princesses can be 8 feet tall.
Princess Brienne fucking Tar.
It'd be really cool. It just occurred to me that
princess.
This is a possible, like, this is not an abject uncertainty or a discertainty. You could get to the point where Disney is putting out like Star Wars cartoons for the kids.
Well, and they are
right, but like the young ones, like Disney, like Little Mermaid kind of cartoons,
like Star
and
Wars
then
babies.
they could end up being, if you got one of those and it was good, or maybe they go in a separate, then they could end up being Disney musical Star Wars cartoons. At which point, my life will have touched dicks with itself, and I will be this Ouroboros of I'm never leaving my room again. I'm gonna just hole up with the TV monitor and watch the Star Wars cartoon musical over and over again.
Star Wars musical
with music by Alan Menken. I'll be in my bunk. Now, it occurs to me that while obviously the screenwriter or the director, and no one person can totally make or break a movie, but when you add a bunch of people in the kitchen, things can get kind of hairy. That being said, are we unwise to put this much faith in Lawrence Kasdan? Has he ever? I don't think he's ever like led us astray, but we're also just
you are unwise to lower your defenses.
As long as nobody saw Dreamcatcher.
I still haven't seen Dreamcatcher.
Did he write Dreamcatcher?
Well, but so did William Goldman.
He adapted Dreamcatcher. Yeah, that's true. That was just
that was just a rough one. That was just of all the Stephen King books to try and adapt. I was like, really? That was just, you don't have to adapt all of them, guys. That would
to be fair, adaptation wise. Nailed it.
Yeah,
like that's everything. That was
just a complete different segue. The most faithful Stephen King adaptation that's ever been done is The Langoliers, which they were as faithful could be to every word of that novella. And I actually, it's a whole other topic that we can talk about, but I actually was at the company that was doing the visual effects for The Langoliers. And I was like, The Langoliers, that's like my favorite Stephen King novella of all time. I think it's awesome. How on earth are they making?
Yeah.
How are you going to visualize The Langoliers? That is something that works on paper, but I can't imagine. I think, no, we're going to do it just like it's. So big Pac-Man with buzzsaw teeth. You're really doing that. Yeah, and then I helped them do it. And I was like, oh, this is gonna be like 9/10 of the most awesome TV miniseries ever, and then at the end everyone's gonna go, what? Because it doesn't work visually. It doesn't work. So Dreamcatcher is a close second to that.
Yeah.
It's like the whole thing about my dream library and the thing, and it's just like, oh, that should stay on the page.
Kasdan has a writing credit for Empire, along with Lee Brackett, for Jedi, I think.
I don't know if he was involved with Jedi. I think maybe a little, but
but also like Raiders.
Yeah, he really
Raiders,
dropped onto the scene with Raiders, basically, and I think
and then went on.
Because he started one before the other.
Raiders.
He started Raiders before Empire.
Yeah, he did Raiders, and they loved it, and then Leigh Brackett died before she could do a revision. So they were like, "Hey, I just read your script, and it was tits. It was great."
But he was still writing Raiders, because I remember reading some interview. He was like, "Yeah, so I was still making Raiders. I was still writing Raiders." And they said, "Do you want to do the next Star Wars movie too?" And they're like, "Well, I'm not done with this one yet. What if you don't like what I do?" And you're like, "Oh, fuck it, it'll be fine." Like, okay.
So far, so good.
That's where we're going to get with these Star Wars movies.
Yeah,
too.
it's like if Rian Johnson eats it, well, we get the next guy. You know, it's like, all right, it's like, oh, we'll bring in so and so to punch it up.
So did they say the rumor did say that Rian Johnson is doing 8 and 9?
I've heard
writing.
That's what I.
I've heard different rumors. I've heard
writing both committed to direct the first as well.
Okay, so someone else could come in for 9. That's fine.
Yeah,
okay.
And as Edgar Wright has shown us, that doesn't necessarily have to be the case. You
Right.
know,
Yeah.
there might be creative differences or any number of reasons a year from now, and he's out. But that's the plan right now.
Yeah, exactly. It's like everyone who's been announced is very exciting, but until they start shooting, they are not actually making a Star
Michael
Wars
Lawrence
movie.
has already left. We've already had
Yeah.
that switchover happen
Who
with
has?
Michael Lawrence,
The Toy Story 3 guy.
Yeah,
Kasdan took over for him. And the thing that I heard, and this is totally just the rumor, so who God knows if this is true,
Yeah.
but someone was saying that Art's script was playing more with the idea of the kids. Like, Han, Luke, and Leia would be there, but it was more about the kid story and sort of kicking off a new generation sort of thing going on. And the sort of revision tack that the new writing crowd, Kasdan and whoever else came along as ghostwriters, took it more in the direction of, no, Han, Luke, and Leia, please, just for a second. So we'll see how that
just
pans
for
out.
7.
Yeah, just one, because they're not going to be around that much longer.
I don't know, man. I was one of the people when this first happened who was saying, I don't want to see like Han, Luke, and Leia anymore. Like, let's.
Well, that's the thing.
I
I certainly
just
don't
like
want to see them as the focus.
Right, exactly. Because just like your thing with the prequels, where it's like, when the fuck did this become about Jedi? Go back and watch the movies. There was no Jedi shit happening. He was a guy trying to solve problems, and he could do magic. But it wasn't a Jedi council. There was no politics. There were no meetings. Why is it about Jedi this time? You're precious about the wrong detail. I felt the same way about Han, Luke, and Leia, where it's like, the thing I like about I like them a lot, but the thing I like about Star Wars is the universe as a character and the stories you can tell with it.
The thing, and that's the thing.
I think that's honestly why the EU works so
That's
well.
also the difference, I think.
I agree with that.
There's a difference between the saga films, i.e. the numbered episodes, and the spin-offs or whatever you want to call it. The movies.
That's true. Gareth Edwards is not directing, like, Rian Johnson is directing he's this in the line.
Yeah.
But Gareth Edwards is directing a quote spin-off, whatever that means.
So episodes 1 through wherever they stop.
7, 8, 9.
Yeah, those I'm fine
Rian
with
Johnson.
being kind of okay. These are about the this is the
fate of the
Skywalker
galaxy.
story or whatever.
Yeah.
And then the spin-offs will be about Boba Fett, whatever. Fuck it. It's fine.
No. Well, okay.
And,
all right. We'll let that one go. But yeah, the idea that the movies will now have the equivalent of the EU, where it's like now it's just this world,
or just be and just be like, okay, we're gonna do a murder mystery in Star Wars.
Yeah,
now.
it's like, why not?
We're just gonna have a murder mystery
like the Avengers.
We're gonna do True Detective on Tatooine.
Yeah,
that's what we're gonna do.
Just like the Marvel universe, because the
Force is a flat circle.
The Marvel universe is such a huge universe that you can have an entire movie about this guy, and you can have another movie about that girl, and you can have
a TV show about those
the
guys.
two of them together, and a television show about those people.
Yeah.
And it all kind of can be, and all one can be.
What I want, what I've heard the rumor of, and they better fucking do do it is some kind of X-wing Rogue Squadron thing. Give me my fighter pilots
the
in
Top
space.
Gun TV series based on X-wings is like, somebody please make that.
Fucking
That would be
do
fantastic. In fact, it's like they're working their way down the list. I mean, I'm the Pink 5 guy. I'm gonna get a call eventually. I mean, that's pretty much guaranteed to happen. But
I'm annoyed that I haven't. I'm legitimately annoyed I haven't gotten a call already because
everyone's getting the call.
Because just like for the lightsabers or something, because I'm literally at most one step removed from every single person who is currently directing a Star
everyone
Wars
in this
movie.
room is one Godzilla movie away from being Gareth Edwards.
No, I mean I'm one person removed, one degree of separation from the people. Like I have a contact for every single one of the people who is directing now. I'm like, there is no way that nobody.
Well, that's
is doing that.
Well, then you have to take that to mean that they've all considered it and decided,
I know.
fuck that guy.
God
That's
damn
what-
it.
Well, this is a question I actually.
No way.
This
I
is what
said that,
this
well,
is
I've said
because
that.
of
I said
Looper.
that when this happened. It's like the nice. Hopefully, the nice thing is the fact that there's going to be all Star Wars all the time. Is we're all going to get a shot eventually. They're going to get to us. They're going to get to everybody. They're going to get to everybody in the chat room eventually. You're all getting a Star Wars movie eventually. You get a Star Wars movie, and you get a Star Wars movie.
The thing that I
Because they
And
can
Mike
do it.
will
They'll be
never
like,
ever get to choreograph it.
Yeah.
Like
even my own, they'll be like, nope, it's unions.
when
They'll be like,
when Owen Ward is making a Star Wars movie, even he won't call Mike because at that point it'll just be funny to do that.
Yeah.
Like when all of our friends are when you're making a Star Wars movie, you're not gonna be allowed to choreograph it.
Yeah, exactly.
Like it's just gonna become the thing that the universe has decided. This is the funny punchline we're gonna make out of Mike's life. It never happens.
I'm surprised that they didn't give
I've
Mike
got
Senna a
one
call
skill.
for the R2 Builders Club.
The R2 Builders Club is doing the R2s.
But it's like the European one, right?
Oh, are you
something?
serious? I didn't know that. That's awesome.
Yeah, no, this R2. The R2 Builders Club has made better R2s than Lucasfilm for the past decade, and so they basically
They made better R2s than ever were made.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
Right.
because they just make nothing but hero props because that's what they do.
Members of the R2 Builders Club have built the actual R2s for the new movies.
In the chat room, Faldor is like, if only Dorkman had been like, hey, I like that other Magic Bean in
Yeah, I
Looper.
know.
For real.
See, now it's like,
I was like, and that's the thing. I'm like,
too
I
late to
know
walk-
he knows I'm out there.
Yeah.
but I pissed him off.
but the wrong way. So it's like, yeah, but hey, so but we didn't. Hey, I thought we were like, I thought we were diplomatic, and it's like, look, this one didn't work for me, but we're not going to go all internet and go, and you suck, therefore.
Yeah.
It's like, look, this one didn't work. It's
I
like,
think
for me,
I'm looking.
80% of it was awesome, and it just didn't quite come together for me. But you rock. Carry on. See the next one.
And now we're definitely going to see
Yeah,
the
now
next
we're
one.
definitely looking forward to seeing the next one. I totally am.
A friend of mine, this is before the Ryan Johnson announcement, but a friend of mine had a birthday dinner at some steakhouse in Burbank, and we were like in this big dining room, and it was literally just our big table of people for his birthday there, and then one other table off on the other side of the corner. And I'm like one of the last people to show up, and I sit down, and my friend is sitting across from me. He goes, "Look, did you see who was at the other table as we walked by? As you came in?" It's like, no. Who is it? Okay, don't look. But it's Tarantino, Edgar Wright, and Ryan Johnson. And of course, I immediately turned it around and looked, and sure enough,
It's like,
it
all right,
was.
now Brian, don't look. Okay,
Yeah.
who is it? What the fuck?
Yeah, really.
Whoosh! Sound
No
effect.
way.
And it was
Head
actually,
turn 001.wave.
it was actually pretty shortly after the Breaking Bad finale. So what I really wanted to do, unfortunately, they left before we left, but like on our way, I'll just walk by and like completely ignore Edgar Wright and Tarantino and look at Ryan Johnson and go, Ozymandias, man, yeah.
Yeah. So,
But unfortunately, they
I
left
want to
before we
interrupt you
did.
with your friends there.
Yeah.
A friend of mine who has been on the show before but shall remain nameless for the purposes of the story is buddies with Ryan a little bit and ended up at one point at a dinner after some showing of something, just like them and Ryan Johnson and Shane Carruth and like one other person just having drinks and eating pizza for the whole dinner. I've never been more jelly about two people who I wouldn't recognize on the street in my entire life.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like at this point I would, but now I wouldn't. At least out of those three, it was like I wouldn't be able to pick Ryan Johnson out of a crowd, even though I
think
love
I
him.
could
Yeah.
now.
I could now.
And
but at the
Shane,
time
I'd just
I
be
couldn't.
like, he's the guy in Primer. So
Yeah, you
him.
can recognize him, sort of.
Yeah.
But yeah.
White guy? Yeah, yeah. him.
Ryan Johnson, until yesterday, there were pictures of him on Twitter. I couldn't have told you what he looked like.
I saw him because he did the thing, the gag at ArcLight when
ArcLight,
Looper
yeah.
came out, when he went out dressed as an ArcLight employee and did the spiel.
In case you don't
Oh,
know,
nice,
in Hollywood, there's
nice.
theaters called the ArcLight where you get assigned seating, and like an employee comes out and says, "We want to show you this movie. Congratulations! It's 2 hours long.
No
Please
talking,
stay here.
turn off your
You know,
cell phone."
Exactly. If we find you talking in this theater, we will take you out. We've got a sniper in the projection room.
Yeah.
Chuck, can I get an amen? Cool. We're ready to go here. Enjoy your presentation of Looper. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And
So-
people applaud and all that.
So as a and sometimes at there's a couple different ones, but ArcLight Hollywood is where things fun things tend to happen sometimes when they premiered Iron Man 2. Like Favreau and
RDJ
Downey Jr. just showed up and we're like, "Hey guys, what's up? Glad you came to this."
They could
show.
just randomly just do that on a whim, like, "Let's go to the ArcLight." Yeah.
So he did that and
pretended to be the employee guy.
But he learned the spiel and he was dressed in the ArcLight shirt, and it's awesome. Like, if you knew it was Rian Johnson, then that was funny. But but he just looks like a guy. He's not distinctive like.
It's
Tarantino
not Tom Hanks coming out and doing that.
Yeah. So it's like 5 people. You can watch the video and like 5 people are laughing because they know what's going on, and everybody else is like, "What? He's doing a fine job. Don't laugh at him."
It's like the poor
guy. He's trying.
Obviously, he's not good at this.
Yeah.
He's probably new.
But yeah, even having seen that video, I was like, "Yep." I wouldn't have known that that was him if I were there.
He's just going to end up being yet another person that I use in my I just replace his visage in my brain with fucking John Lasseter.
Yeah, what is that? I was telling you were talking about that. I was like,
I said at some point in my life, I realized that I forgot what Robert Zemeckis looks like and have been using John Lasseter in my head as him. And it never occurred to me until a certain moment that like I have 2 different people in my head that are identical, and that can't make sense.
I have no idea what John Lasseter looks like.
And literally a couple of days later, I was watching some behind the scenes on Back to the Future. And I was like, "Oh my God, I've been doing the same thing with Bob Gale."
Specifically with John Lasseter. Like, John Lasseter became your Bob Gale somehow.
I was like, there needs to be a study because this is like a thing. John Lasseter is just the stand-in for
just something about
people you don't
like affable middle-aged white guys. They're all kind of John Lasseter when you boil it down, you know?
They all should be, really. He's the gold standard. Everybody be John Lasseter, please.
In the chat, Land Porpoise asks if there's anything we're like legitimately worried about.
I assume you mean Star Wars and not global warming.
Well, malaria, we kicked that one in the ass.
Syria is really going to be a problem.
I just like neoclassical economics just needs to not be such a dominant force
can we
within
just let
the
go
field.
of the trickle down thing?
I'm not very happy with the MP3 and CD revolution. I'm going back to vinyl. Anyway. No, I mean not specifically. I will find out after the first movie comes out what shape this is going to kind of take specifically, but generally speaking, I would be very surprised if this is like massively fucked up in some weird way. Like we should have seen this coming. Like there is a way for one guy by himself writing and directing and calling the shots to fuck up a thing. There's not a way for this system to fuck up that bad.
Well,
no. There's maybe not
either way can be good or bad. I think. I think this is
not a committee.
I think J.J. Abrams' movie that he's working on now is probably the one that is in the most danger. Just as the prequels were, when it was just one guy, now it's a committee. But still, there's the amount of second guessing must be horrifying.
There's a lot of notes,
and so the idea of okay, look, someone's got to just decide what we're making here, and and it can work as a committee, it can work as an auteur thing. You never know. Both can lead to good or terrible results.
To be fair, as long as it's smart people making story decisions, then I think the second guessing is a good thing.
Yeah, I would say ideally what you want is a small, talented brain trust.
Yes.
You don't want 1,000 different guys with suits giving specific notes about hair color and what the dog looks like. You also don't necessarily
and what should happen.
Right, because there's risks inherent to that. And you don't necessarily want the Arturo dude because there's risks inherent to that. With a small, talented brain trust, best possible chance, I think. I don't know if that's what they've got right now, and if they do, it's certainly not for the episode 7. It'd be for like 8 and 9. But
well, they have. I mean, you've got Kathleen Kennedy, who's a great producer.
Kathleen Kennedy is the one.
Lawrence Kasdan, who knows his way around a Star Wars screenplay.
Yeah, a little bit. And J.J. Abrams, who I've said before, I'll say it again. Star Trek was not the right venue for JJ. I think Star Wars is. I think Star Wars is
Star Trek was trying to be Star Wars.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like
he literally said he did Star Trek because he never thought he would get Star Wars.
Yeah. And I think his sensibility lends itself better to what Star Wars is in the broadest sense than what Star Trek is in the broadest sense.
I don't think we knew about JJ. I don't think we'd done an episode regarding his thing, but
we talked about it in a grab bag.
Okay, yeah. But I'm sure I said this before then, but I think JJ's strength is in characters. Yeah. He's really good at putting characters on a screen.
Delivering thrilling moments. Yeah. I mean, he certainly can deliver some great scenes. I mean,
so if somebody else is putting together the skeleton for him to lay those things on, it's like
can't miss.
Yeah, I don't see it missing.
Much to Brian's chagrin, even the, when you get right down to it, largely nonsensical plot of J.J. Trek
It makes no sense at all.
makes no sense.
But it's so much
everyone
fun.
loved it.
But it was
just because
not everyone.
Just because characters
Well,
and thrilling moments. And,
I'm in this weird, split, left brain, right brain with the especially the second Star Trek movie. As I've been on, record, is like it's a totally fun, wacky thrill ride, and I hate it because I know what Star Trek was supposed to be in my brain, and that's not what Star Trek is supposed to be. But it's as a fun, if they just made it something else, I think I would probably go, that was nuts. I love it. It was a fun, crazy movie about people in space and bad guys and good guys and shootouts and explosions, and I probably would have been fine. But it's because it was Star Trek, and I have I have my own legacy and my own vision of what that means. That I had a problem with it. But as far as being a pure rocket ride adrenaline movie, Star Trek 2 is fine.
Sure.
So it's like Star Wars can be, and we know he can do character things. I mean, there's great moments in Super 8.
Super 8 is nothing but great character.
And I'm not. I actually have no knowledge of his television work at all. I only know him as a movie director, but of course he's got decades of work, delivering, beloved characters there. So
yeah,
I'm still, even with Kasdan and Kennedy on board, I'm still ultimately concerned with the story because you can still fuck it up. We're talking, as you described William Goldman once, is if ever there was a sentient crystal of screenwriting, it's William Goldman. And even William Goldman fucks up sometimes. So certainly it's within the realm of plausibility.
Yeah, that asshole made The Princess Bride. So, okay.
So,
yeah. Everyone makes a misstep every now and then.
Which in Sundance, the early years, there's a trade-off there.
So there's still absolutely the possibility that we can walk into that theater and the story just makes no goddamn sense whatsoever. And at this point in my life, I just won't be able to, unless the story has a cohesion to it, I will not be able to be on board.
But that comes back to my, the good news is, so what? There's another one coming out 6 months later.
Yeah.
It's like, how many people are still lying awake nights going, Ang Lee really screwed up the Hulk? It's like, no, just forget that happened. You can ignore that because there are 90 other things where the Hulk is in now, some of which were awesome.
But I do also think that'll be more true with the one-offs than 7, 8, and 9.
Yes. Yeah.
So, I'll bet you everyone's favorite Star Wars movie of the new set in 25 years will be a one-off. Thing. It'll be like, God, I really love the one about Mon Mothma.
It'll be the one where
super gonzo, you never even thought
where so and so got to just go off on a limb because it wasn't so precious. It's like, just do that.
Where someone from when they're just rolling on Star Wars, someone approaches Disney and goes, "Hey, I had this really great idea that I would like to set in your universe." It's not anything.
It's Ocean's 11 and the Death Star.
That door is now open, and
or it's going to be a thing where that happens in all the time. It happened with the Saw movies where a guy just has a horror script and they go, "Yeah, well, why don't we make it a Saw movie?" Yeah. It's like, okay. So somebody's
could be cool too.
Somebody's gonna come with some, indie sci-fi movie and go, well, we're not gonna fund that, but we got a hole in our Star Wars.
I've got a script I'm writing right now. Brian knows more about it than the rest of you do, but I've got a script I'm writing right now. We could change 3 lines of dialogue and it's a Star Wars movie, because it's set.
This is amazing because usually it's the other way. It's like I wrote this Star Wars thing, but what kind of I
can't
have
do
to change
anything with
3
it.
lines to take out the Star Wars and make it original.
It just occurred to me, and this is like a totally useless thing to wonder about now because it's totally been replaced by a new timeline. But before this, back in Lucasfilm days, were the Ewok movies considered canon? I mean, they're basically Star Wars EU movies. They're in the universe. They got Ewoks. They got AT-ATs and shit, don't they? Would they have entered into level 1 canon shit with Return of the Jedi? Like I said, this is outdated. So. This is an outdated thing to wonder about. It just never occurred to me to think about it.
I actually looked it up because there was a conversation. There was a conversation on Facebook about it and being like, and listing all the stuff and was like, most of Star Wars is kind of awful. I was like, well, but if you're counting non-canon, then you have to count video games and the books and all that stuff. And a lot of that is really great, but I believe I did look it up in the pre-Disney canon. Did not. That was tier 2. It was slightly above the books and stuff EU, but it was not.
It's from my understanding
because they had wizards and stuff.
Yeah, my understanding of canon. Again, that's what's nice is the fact that there's going to be such a glut and the floodgates are only just starting to crack open right now.
We're going to get a lot of things like the Ewok movie.
Exactly.
So
we're going to get a lot more of that because Disney, that was the thing, is Disney is we're not, unlike George, who would like, well, okay, I licensed some TV movies and they really didn't turn out well because I really didn't have anything to do with them, and I disavowed that they exist, and I want to try and prevent people from ever seeing them again. Disney has no such compunction. Disney was like, people want to see the Star Wars holiday special, then by golly, they are going to get the Star Wars holiday special. You know, they have no, it's like, whatever, just, if you'll buy it, we will put it in Walmart. I promise you.
Disney's making planes too right now.
Exactly. So they again, this, yes, there will be some awful Star Wars crap.
Woo!
But there will be so much of it and such a variety of it that you can go, but okay, that was bullshit, but who cares, because this was awesome over here.
Yeah, because next week there's going to be another one. So it's the same, like you said, it's the same thing about James Bond. You were like, well, that was
James
too
Bond
bad,
had a couple, a good decade and a bad decade, and now it's all just on the shelf. It's like, oh, this is kind of fun to look at, and look at what they were trying to do in this decade. Like, oh, that whole decade was
Jack
messed
White
up.
and Alicia Keys, that'll never work.
Yeah.
But what we're also going to get, and what we may actually be getting now, is the Disney Vault applied to Star Wars.
Yeah.
I have a friend who is like, I have a friend who has never seen Return of the Jedi all the way through, and I tried to find it.
Oh, there you
I tried
go.
to buy it, and this is literally this past
interesting.
week. She couldn't find it, so I lent her my
Well,
copy.
Disney can't do that right now because Fox still releases the existing movies.
Well, okay, I don't. So my
But
speculation,
from now on,
they. My
might
speculation was maybe Disney is already, maybe there's some aspect of the
No,
agreement
there's
that's
not much
public.
of a demand for those old crappy movies. But the
Well, she looked all over the place and couldn't find it. So I don't know what the actual
you should
explanation
tell,
is.
there's a thing called Amazon.
She went to Amazon.
She couldn't find Return of the Jedi on Amazon.
She said she looked all over the place. Now, again, this is just her word on it, so I don't know. But
this is kind of
it's like saying, I can't find a copy of the Bible anywhere.
This is kind of
once Disney buys it,
Disney doesn't own Return of the Jedi.
Sort of 2 layers removed from what we can currently speculate about accurately. But it occurs to me that with this upcoming,
we did all right the last time we did this. So
with the upcoming glut of Star Wars movies, that means a lot of what people see in movie theaters will be Star Wars movies. Now, when that happens
Sorta
with
like-
superhero movies,
That's the bad
Marvel,
news.
yeah.
Is 10 years from now, Star Wars will be what Marvel is right now.
well, yeah, but when that
Just
happened
good
with
and bad.
superhero movies, like from X-Men on, in addition to the big mainstream sort of down the pike, massive eventy superhero movies, we also started seeing a whole shit ton of like not a franchise little spin-off takes on superhero movies and Chronicle and Super and shit like that, where it's like, well, people are really used to seeing this, so it'll be fun to see a trope version for that movie because they've seen so many of that movie now.
Right.
It's in their consciousness and they can play with it. We're gonna end up in a zone where Star Wars movies are gonna be kind of like that with like what Marvel movies are now, where we might start seeing movies that people are so used to seeing movies like that now. We start seeing weirdo spin-offy trope version space adventure movies, which
Right.
I can't wait for that shit.
yeah.
It just occurred to me that like this, if after 15 or 20 or 150 superhero movies, we start getting shit like Super and Chronicle, it's not going to take long to start getting the really cool Super and Chronicle of Star Wars movies, where it's like they're not actually licensed. It's just this weird indie spec script that someone got made, like the Galaxy Quest of Star
it
Wars.
literally was their Star Wars spec that they just took all the Star Wars references
Yeah.
out of.
Like we're going to start getting like knockoffs of Star Wars in theaters again. That hasn't happened in years. Well,
I already
Chronicles
have
of
one in
Riddick,
mind.
but whatever. Really? Oh yeah, yes.
Yes. Well, it's hard to say.
Shocking.
Because superhero is kind of a genre, whereas Star Wars is not.
Oh, it's
going
gonna be though.
Unless you want to say space fantasy, is a thing. But space fantasy is kind of also a not quite a genre.
Yeah, like without
either.
Star Wars, you got Chronicles of Riddick and like John Carter. Those are the ones that I can think of that would be in the same shelf if Star Wars was a genre.
But you're gonna just start seeing.
Maybe Dune,
But you're just gonna start seeing
shit like that.
space opera stuff. Just
like we did the first time Star Wars was a hit when everyone was trying to make.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to make a thing like Star Wars. And we
Starman
saw
and all that
kinds
stuff.
of Starman doesn't even compare. I'm talking about the real knockoffs that came out right after Star Wars.
But
when
even-
everyone was doing space fantasy and really, really bad movies were resulting.
and
from that.
potentially like straight space traveling sci-fi. I mean, we may get more movies like Starship Troopers,
Yeah,
for example,
that's-
something like that.
Perfectly fine, but that again, that's more of a hard sci-fi.
Yeah.
and Star Wars occupies that kind of semi-fantasy niche.
Yeah.
That because that's Star Wars is just like sort of sword and sorcery.
Oh yeah, it's fantasy with spaceships.
With
That's
spaceships,
what
so-
it is. for sure.
I'm just so enamored with the idea.
Fantasy's
that,
actually doing really well right now. Anyway, right now what everyone's trying to do is the next Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, if we can get a really
Game of
solid
Thrones
Star Wars
in
Game
space.
of Thrones. Yeah.
well, it only
Oh
took
my
3
God.
Lord of the Rings movies for the entire world to try every other book series
well,
for
for
a
that
while
matter,
there.
Sci-Fi's new
And Harry Potter too.
Dominion show, which is based on Legend, good
Legion.
call. Legion, thank you. Is totally trying to be Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones with angels is what Dominion's turned into.
Have you watched
Yeah.
it? Is it any good?
See, as a pitch, I'm kind of like, well,
I know it's like it's
Well,
just,
if they
it
fix
just
all the
debuted-
shit we talked about,
well, I
you know.
I tweeted this, or I didn't tweet it, but I tweeted also put it in the forum. Is that Hollywood Reporter gave one of the most scathing reviews
Yeah,
that's
that
ever
was
been
awesome.
my pleasure to read.
I read it. I read it on
Yeah.
your recommendation.
to the point
was
where
harsh.
at the top where Hollywood Reporter will put the credits of who is the producer and blah 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 of the show, it actually said names have been redacted because why embarrass them.
Right,
I
exactly.
mean, it actually didn't even say who the producers were. Ouch. But in reading the description of the show, it's like, okay, that's completely insane, but could be awesome.
yeah,
Just like, I'm so glad that at least someone made a show that's that crazy. It's like, that was, talk about not making the safe choices. Wow. So maybe it's a misfire, maybe it's not going to go anywhere, but the daring of, look, we're going to, and you can totally, at least I could see the Game of Thrones-y influence, where it's like, we're trying to do a future world where it's our world, but it's a post-apocalypse, but there's the 2 houses, and they marry their, it's very clearly trying to capture that Game of Thrones thing, but with angels in the future, which is like, all right, well, points for trying, that's crazy enough to be, could be great.
that's the thing. The best stuff, the stuff that we latch onto, and that people latch onto, like story wise and stuff,
Is always a
it's-
psychotic
it's
crapshoot.
It's
Yeah.
completely bonkers.
Yeah.
You describe it, you go, who on earth?
Yeah.
Whatever. Actually, the just today I saw someone had this is kind of apropos. Someone had tweeted, this weekend in 1984, these were the movies out in
Oh,
theaters.
yeah.
All together. All at once in theaters, we had
Yeah.
Ghostbusters, Gremlins, Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, The Karate Kid, Star Trek 3, The Natural, and Police Academy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like
And then you were
fully
you
half
were
of
saying
those.
this. You were reading this before.
Yeah,
we
and that was the
recorded.
weekend that Footloose and some other thing closed.
Yeah. So like, and fully half of
That
those
summer.
are just batshit. Like if you
Yeah.
describe them. So
Yeah. Well, and again, it's you have to recognize that Star Wars,
yeah.
the original Star Wars, insane. I mean, it was that nutty idea that like, okay, wow, okay, oh wait, boy, Fox is really gonna when that thing bombs. Woo, boys! Like, have you seen the clip? There's a monkey with a gun and a flies a
monkey with a crossbow.
yeah, flies a plane, and there's robots that look like garbage cans, and then it's nuts. I don't know what Fox is
And
thinking.
the pirate guy is talking to the monkey, even though the monkey doesn't speak English.
Yeah, and it's just, oh boy, and it's apparently it's got visual effects, so they're never gonna get that thing
Or
done.
maybe it's not a monkey; it's like a bear. It's something like
it's
that.
like a
though.
bear or talking monkey or something. I don't know. I just saw the trailer; it was crazy. But so it's like,
Like the candidates for the next scathing Hollywood Reporter. Okay, so there's a trash can and a golden gay guy.
yeah. And
I love bonkers
and
movies.
who's in it? Well, there's a British guy that was in some stuff like 20 years ago.
No.
Oh man,
Do you remember that one guy from Bridge on the River Kwai?
Yeah, remember him? That guy. He's still alive. And also, the guy from the Hammer horror films does a cameo. That's kind of fun. But other than that, wow, they got nobody.
Yeah, and some famous couple's daughter.
Yeah, really. Carrie Fisher. Oh God, really?
Paris Hilton in a
Someone-
movie. Really.
someone gave her a
Jaden
job?
Smith.
Woo!
This will be great. Yeah, exactly. I'm just so enamored with the
The guy
idea.
from a soap
We touched on
opera.
it a second ago. I'm just really touched by this idea where once you get to the point where there's movies coming out all the time and most of them are going to be one-offs or like start new franchises, maybe if the one-off was good, but generally just like, shit
No.
at a wall.
I prefer so vastly. It's like because when you're trying to start a franchise, there are certain things you do that you would not, certain risks you would not take with the story.
Right,
that
I agree.
If you're,
No, I
if
agree,
you're
I
just
agree.
doing it on its own.
But they might make sequels of ones that are popular.
Sure.
Hopefully they at least have that in whatever. In any case, but once that's happening, you'll have the original trilogy, the new original trilogy, and you'll have the second original trilogy, whatever. But you'll also
Famous
have
Razor
just
original
like
trilogy.
this goddamn like solar system of other movies just all around it, and nobody's favorite will be one of the trilogy movies. Everyone's favorite will be some different like underdog like if you were, I don't watch baseball. If I was coming at baseball, I would not become a fan of the Yankees because obviously you should be a fan of the Yankees. Now I'm going to pick some random fucking, you know what? I like that team. No one else likes that team.
The original trilogy is going to be like Buster Keaton and Charlie Chaplin. It's like, yeah, those are fun, but who really watches those? Come on.
Yeah, I like the James Bond analogy. It's like, when's the last time you actually watched Dr. No? I mean, you know what Dr. No is, but it's like, have you watched it lately? It really doesn't hold up. It's like, but still, you got to give it credit because they laid the groundwork in that movie, and it's amazing.
I did actually watch Dr. No recently. Like I started with doing the Bond movies in order, and so I started with Dr. No. And it's like it's really like these are not James Bond movies. The first couple of them.
Watching them in order because I'm doing the same thing. I think I'm maybe about a third of the way through the series. But it is actually exactly like Star Wars in a way because you watch it and you have to remind yourself, okay, I'm literally watching the evolution of action movies as I'm watching this. Yeah. So it's like, Dr. No or maybe it was the second one. There's the scene, with Love. From Russia with Love. It's like there's a scene where a guy is like walking from a boat to a bar, and James Bond follows him. And they're going completely at walking pace, just like do. And
it's in real time.
Yeah, and it's in real time.
No one will be seated during our show.
Yeah, the movie, the movie. Well, no, but that's the thing. You're watching it. You're watching it. You're going in 1960 whatever. This was a chase scene.
Well, that's akin to the great line from the commentary track, not ours, but the real one for The Incredibles, where Brad Bird talks about how people don't sneak around in movies anymore.
No,
they cut the sneaking around. So he has that whole scene where twice where first Mrs. Incredible and then Mr. Incredible or Mr. Incredible first, both infiltrate the compound. Where you see the whole process of them infiltrating the compound, which no one does anymore.
That's fair.
Like, meanwhile, go back to original Star Wars and like. Most of what Obi-Wan's doing in the entire movie is
sneaking around.
Is like an insert of him all coyishly running across a hallway, meaning like, woo! Like that's most of his role. Most of his screen time is him like tiptoeing across a hallway as like a plucked violin sound effect is happening.
Well, that's all of Act 2. That's the entirety of all of their presence on the Death Star is them sneaking around.
But Obi-Wan's by himself. And that's sad.
Yeah, he has to sneeze in his own movie, sneaking around. So yeah, it's like it's one of those things. Everything old can be new again. Is the idea of it can be very suspenseful of a guy if there's stakes involved in what if that guy sees you while you're sneaking around following him, and then if you're invested in where that guy is going or anything like that, that's a perfectly viable scene. But people just don't tend to do those kind of scenes anymore.
What's interesting is that I was just reminded when you said that. That's actually transferred into video games. That's a very popular mechanic in video games now. Is the sneaking and following and stuff like that. So there is still the appeal there. It's just for some reason, I guess it's more exciting when you're inside it. But or maybe it's because it's missing from movies. People are like, I need that in my entertainment.
I understand for game dynamics, it's easier to do than like nothing but action all the time. It's like wow, we can just build like one little environment and have 3 guards go back and forth, and people will play that for 10 minutes. That's awesome. Put that in there. Whew. Make it hard to do and great. That's great.
What I think will be interesting if and when it happens is we get the big saga trilogy, and then we get all the spin-offs, and then 7-10 years whenever it happens, all of those threads they'll basically decide to do the Avengers thing. Will bring all those threads back together into some massive,
grandiose
basically
thing.
What happened with the expanded universe where they
they're putting Jogurt salami in this movie with
exactly.
That's where the fetishism comes into play, which is always
creepy. We're gonna have
this
smuggler guy come in, who had his own movie, come in with the Jedi guys, and that's gonna be a thing.
Jogurt salami. That's what I said.
Jogurt salami, I think, is a great.
The second one in the Jogurt salami was great, by the way. That the sequel was better than the original.
Yeah. Well, Kasdan
actually, I really liked.
One.
Some people love and some people hate the Yu Zhavong series in the expanded universe.
The New Jedi Order,
the New Jedi Order series, which is basically the expanded universe doing that. They had like 20 or 30 years of all these one-off books and backstory.
That's the thing, and
they're like, okay, well, we're gonna bring all of these elements back in and tell this one huge story with all of them.
And I think
it just occurred to me, by the way, with the Jogurt salami, there's gonna be so much weird fucking fanfic now. And like slash images and DeviantArt pages.
Oh, like there isn't already.
Yeah, but just like there's a whole new enchanted forest of that shit right around the corner.
Their entire social networks built around the concept of fan art and fan fiction now.
Sure.
And,
man,
well,
it's just a new.
Hello,
landscape.
that's how we know each other.
I can't believe they did that to Jogurt salami.
I'm like, are we really judging?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and that's really crazy.
No, I wasn't judging. I was just saying like the landscape is so much different now in the modern day with. the technology is just so much more mature. Like we know each other, and we all entered that world because I was writing fan fiction on AOL back in the day, and that leads into that was my gateway drug. Yeah. And now that's those little like isolated crude tools that we defined the early parts of our lives on have now blossomed and matured into these whole landscapes that can just support so much more shit.
Yeah. But the flip side is that Disney is aware of them, and they're going to find ways to monetize it.
Yeah.
That they're going to figure out, like, okay, we get these crazy fans. How do we get them to do it? Aside from like releasing one toothpick of information every day on Twitter and watching them lose their freaking minds. Like, boy, did they drag out that casting news like crazy? Like, and then this person, blah, 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 everyone goes batshit. I'm happily, blissfully unaware of who they've cast. It's like, oh, that okay, so that person, and she was in a thing. It's like, 18 months from now, when they're all doing the Tonight Show on the same week, it's like, yeah, then I'll care who the freaking actors are in this movie. But until then, go make your movie. Go make a movie. Yeah, and I'll see you in a year and a half.
It is strange because, like you're saying, how the landscape has changed. It's like 10 years ago, this would have been the podcast where every week we talked about, this week they announced that blah, blah, blah is going to be in it. And now we're like, I don't want to talk about any of that shit. Like, I don't even want to know about it.
There are plenty of those podcasts that still exist, but...
and at the time, there was DLR.
Yeah. But actually, that kind of does bring up the question that came up a while ago is like, is there anything you're really afraid of in this first movie? And I think that most of the scary eggs are in the basket of this first movie, where it can be like, just like with episode 1 in its way, it's like, okay, so you're telling me this is going to be the new direction for 3 movies. What do you got? And so episode 1 was like, oh no.
Oh, shit.
So my concern, and you were touching on it, is yes, Han and Luke and Leia are in it.
And
but
Chewie.
Clearly and Chewie and 3PO and R2. But they've cast all these other people who are clearly going to be around for a long time, drug overdoses notwithstanding.
Yeah.
Who should have a long So
this is going to be so creepy in 5 years when he was right about something.
I know. Well, with that crowd, somebody's going to be dead. But
Carrie Fisher survived against all odds.
Exactly. I know, it's crazy. So it's not going to be the one you think. So it's going to be Lupita Nyong'o. It's like, who knew she was total heroin head? But I'm hoping that my hope is, in a broad sense, that the first movie is basically the handoff. Is like, okay, so here's how that sort of all ends, but here's how it rolls over into a whole new story about these characters mostly. And setting all that up and then telling us an interesting trilogy about that. Contrast that, and I don't know how people in this room feel about it, but just last week, in the past week, the topic of Ghostbusters 3, which will never ever seem to go away until they finally just make one, I guess.
Or kill Bill Murray.
Yeah. There was a whole thing about how Max Landis came up with a pitch for the setup of Ghostbusters 3, which is like, I don't know how anyone else in the room feels about it, but it's like, that is exactly not what you should do. That is the worst bad idea that you could possibly do.
I only saw like the cold open idea. I didn't see.
That's the cold open.
Apparently, he did the whole plot.
Well, okay, I'm not familiar with the whole plot, but the whole setup was, and it's not a spoiler because it doesn't exist. But it was like, it was all about taking all the elements that all these little bits and pieces from the existing Ghostbusters canon, and using that to sort of set up a big backstory of where Slimer came from.
Yeah.
Which, as someone summed it up in a tweet, is like, that's as good an idea as midichlorians, because again, that's just navel gazing. No, let that go and tell me something fucking new, please. So it's like, again, it's like Han and Luke and Leia. That's great, the nostalgia factor and everything else. But I hope the movie's not about them.
Yeah,
I hope it's about them handing the torch to whatever the next story is going to be really about.
Them opening the door.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
What?
Yes.
Presumably, Carrie Fisher and Harrison Ford and Mark Hamill don't want to be doing these movies until the day they die. Specifically, I'm assuming Harrison Ford are all very much like, we're going to sign up for, wait for it, 1.
Is this finally where Harrison Ford gets to die?
I was just thinking they could kill off all 3 of them in this first movie.
They could.
I don't
They
think
could
they
certainly
would go
kill
all
off
3.
any of them, but I could imagine that being a thing where it's like they need to facilitate the new story shit happening because if nothing else, they're old. Like, they can't do this much longer.
Yeah.
Like, Harrison Ford just made another Indiana Jones movie and we're all a little bit like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
whoa,
dude,
whoa.
you got to stop doing that.
He just broke his leg on the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah, walking on board
Okay?
the Millennium Falcon.
Okay?
Well, I could easily see
They could kill him off.
Luke is
These-
going.
They might, even if they don't mean to. Apparently,
Yeah,
Dude.
Luke is clearly going to transition. He's going to be the Obi-Wan of the movie.
Yeah.
So if you
Yeah.
follow the formula, then that means that Luke is going to go bye-bye. Whether or not that's actually the direction they go in, who knows? But yeah, it's totally
but as much as
conceivable.
as much as possible,
And that would be great.
yeah, it wouldn't surprise me also if that's how they got them on board. They were like, we don't want to do this anymore. It's
exactly.
like, you
That's-
only have to do it one more time.
That
I
was the whole
promise.
flash in my head that I had where I was
And
like,
we're
oh,
gonna,
fuck.
and we're gonna pay you like you can't believe.
Yeah.
Harrison doesn't care, but the other two of you, come on, we couldn't use a little something. Come on.
yeah.
The next 19 generations of Fords are set.
Yeah.
It's
So-
funny in the chat.
God, and Callista's popping out those babies like she's not really, is she?
Faldor just cracked me up. He's like, "Do you think that like JJ and Kathleen Kennedy are trolling the fan films board, pissing off Adam Bertocci? Like, I'm gonna make a feature-length fan film trilogy."
No, I totally am. I've got all the people to do it.
We're shooting right now. I promise.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be fantastic.
Gothic-
We'll have a trailer out by Christmas.
Gothic Robots asked if the first film could be so disappointing, all the other plans get scrapped. Not a chance.
Not
No.
a
in hell.
chance.
No.
It doesn't matter how bad, unless
The train is rolling too hard. By
well,
that point.
unless, and I can't even imagine a world in which this is possible, unless it somehow tanks at the box office. But they could
It
put
won't.
put the Fox logo on screen or the Disney logo on screen for 90 minutes, and the thing would still make $100
Yeah.
million.
It could
Yeah, that's
be.
the
It
thing.
could be J.J. Abrams literally giving the finger
Yeah,
to the
literally
camera.
explaining the movie.
Yeah.
episode
and it would
episode
still make
7,
200
yeah,
million
will make will
in its
will
first weekend.
make a huge. There's no
Yeah.
way that it's gonna
There's
bomb.
just
No.
I can't,
Episode
yeah.
episode
unless
8
the,
might be in trouble.
Yeah.
unless
but-
the entire fabric of society changes from what it is right
Yeah.
now.
Right.
There's no possible way.
Only if somebody sets off an electromagnetic pulse
Exactly.
Yeah.
that disables the whole world.
If
on opening
civilization
day.
collapses.
If
Yes.
civilization collapses, there will be no more Star Wars.
Yeah. And there will be
That is
people
the-
around
just-
campfires
But
telling
even-
each
yes,
other the
exactly.
story of Star Wars.
Even then, we'll still have the Rain of Fire scene where
yes,
they're
where
telling
they're
it.
explaining.
Just for-
J.J. Abrams will be an old man going, here's what I was going to do.
Just for fun, I'm gonna make the prediction.
I go find
We'll
him
see what
and be
happens.
like, okay, so what was it gonna be?
seriously, dude, what? What was it?
But not only do I not think it's likely that the movie's going to do poorly, much less like tank the entire project for going on. I'll bet you Star Wars Episode 7 beats Avatar. I'll bet
Oh.
because think of like
Yeah.
the appeal.
Star Wars Episode 7 is going to melt the economy. It's
Yeah.
just going to completely ruin.
because the
every
reason those movies
metric.
the movies that are like ungodly huge hits and you can't exactly figure out why, the answer is usually that movie works well in any language. That's usually why. So it's a movie everyone wants to see and they can redub it and it doesn't do anything weird with like the language or the point. The story is that easy to understand. This has Star Wars written all over it, not to mention the fact that it's Star Wars Episode 7.
Yeah.
Like Episode 1 is still on the top 10 list.
Well,
Like
that's the thing. Yeah,
That's
episode-
how big Star Wars is.
exactly.
There's no
And-
way
and
I'm
it's like-
not going to
And
see
everyone had
Episode
gone
7.
gone to see it like 4 times before anyone said, "Is it me or does this movie suck?" You
Yeah,
know,
exactly.
it's like that. But it was $200 million in before the first person dared to go, "Am I crazy or is this not actually that good?"
Yeah.
Yeah,
Now,
it's
what's
like-
funny though, like on the you were mentioning, like you could just put the fucking Disney logo up with like a John Williams score. That is through the roof box office
Yeah.
numbers. I tweeted a little while ago because it occurred to me that there's no one who's not going to see this movie. Like those people don't exist. My mom is going to see this movie. She doesn't give a shit, and she's going to see this movie.
Yeah.
You could literally never do a trailer for this.
I
You
would-
could just release a
Wouldn't
teaser,
that be awesome?
a teaser
I
that's
would
just
love
the
if they did
date
that,
Yeah.
in a Star Wars font with a
Yeah.
little bit of the Twin Suns theme,
Yeah.
and that's the entire
That'd be so
international
great.
trailer.
And the actors can do all the talk shows they want, but no clips.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
That's what
They-
I.
they do
that's
that
what I said
sometimes
they
now.
should have done
Yeah.
for.
Yeah.
I was.
It's
I
a
was saying
totally
that-
unique opportunity. There's never going to be another movie you can pull that off.
Well, I was saying that 10 years ago for Episode 3. I was saying exactly that. I'm like, don't even show anything. Just put the date up.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and
you
that's
don't
it.
have to
But this-
advertise this.
But this would even work better than that because Episode 3 came after Episode 2, which came after Episode 1. This is like, holy, no one's not going to see this movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
Yeah.
They're-
Actually, so-
they actually have a higher risk of screwing up their box office with trailers.
yeah,
it's true.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because it gives,
if I
it
were
gives
in their
the-
marketing department, I would make that argument. Like,
Yeah.
listen, everybody is already maximally hyped about this. The more we give them up to a certain point, it's just
Yeah.
you're just giving,
That would be
more
that would,
opportunities
that's
to
the
fuck
only
it up.
that's about the only radical surprise that they can pull with the next Star Wars trilogy is to market it differently than movies get marketed. It's like Disney goes, okay, it's Star Wars. It's not like
free pass to reinvent
it doesn't
marketing.
matter what we do, it's going to be a hit.
And
even if we don't market it, let's be honest, like somewhere someone should be sitting in a marketing boardroom at Disney right now going, let's be honest, we are not necessary. This movie will still do fine, even if we all take a year and a half off.
They should
and use that as an excuse to
Disney.
go, let's
do some batshit something or other.
Literally get us to think out of the box on this one.
You can literally save about $200 million by
Yeah.
marketing this. Not
what
the
if
same.
we don't market this thing?
What was I gonna? Oh, I was gonna say that's an aspect that excites me about J.J. Abrams again, because he's pretty good with the not giving too much away.
Oh,
in the,
yeah, I
in
hadn't
the
thought of that.
marketing
Yeah.
department. So
Not that he's going to have any control over that.
if
I mean,
they have any
he does have a
say.
say.
Well, he gets to when the cachet of the project is it's a J.J. Abrams project, then it's like, okay, Mr. Abrams, we'll give you more than we would usually give a director the ability to sculpt this advertising campaign. When the cachet is not J.J. Abrams and the cachet is Star Wars, I'll bet you he doesn't get the 51% vote.
But I think he
no,
has
I
some
think-
cachet even now.
I think he has some because
not as much, but he's still
because ultimately what it comes down to is they begged him to do this. Essentially, everybody else was like, "Fuck that, I'm not touching it."
Well,
they finally got him to do it, and I'm sure he was like, I'm sure weirdly enough, despite the fact that you would think it's like, no, we're doing Star Wars, and would you like to come turn the sausage crank? It's like, for
They might have had to
Abrams,
promise him that.
Yeah, he probably was like, okay, I will do
I want to
Star
at least
Wars
put the spice
for you
in
if I can do this, and
Yeah.
this.
And well, it's easy for
I want to nuke Endor.
certainly really certainly a layperson and even us, we can forget that different things about a movie are the ballpark of different entities.
Yeah.
I mean, Disney and there's Lucasfilm and there's Kathleen Kennedy, and obviously she has her say, and then there's Disney, which is the owner of the property, and they have their say, and then there's the director who has his say, and how all that fits together is kind of a subject to how
That's why you watch the behind the scenes.
who has
stuff.
the strongest agent and whose manager got them the best deal, and there's like all this stuff is all kind of spelled out, but then almost everyone is always at the mercy of the marketing department. I mean, you end up hearing, especially with Disney, you're hearing many people like, I really didn't think they if
John Carter.
a director saying, they didn't market my movie very well. Well, that's
No, John Carter is the anomaly because he had control over the marketing, and that's why it got hosed.
So there you go. So you never know who's got exactly what say in anything, much less the content of the movie, but the marketing of the movie is often going to be.
We'll find out in 6 months. I guess.
The bailiwick of I wish hey, we made the best movie we could. I really wish they hadn't marketed it that way, but I had no say in that whatsoever. That can happen. Someone, and it's scrolled away on our little screen here, but someone brought up an important point, which I think is a perfectly valid thing. Said, talking about the passing of the torch thing, that Star Trek did a passing of the torch movie called Generations, which was one of the worst ones they ever made.
Yeah.
And again, Star Trek lived on, didn't it? It went on, and now there's been 8 incarnations of Star Trek since that.
But none of them have been good.
It didn't kill the franchise in any
Shut
way. It just continued on, and it still exists and it still makes money. So episode 7 could easily suck. Episode 1 did, and
here we are.
Here we are.
But then episode 2, aw.
But in the defense of the unlikelihood of that, episode 1 sucking kind of fucked up the nerd universe for a good, it was like World War II.
No, it did. It was a great.
It spawned our greatest generation.
It was a great split in the Force.
But I think that is a tremendous point. It's like we're 10 years after the last movie, and we had a string of 3 straight awful movies, and we're still like, what else you got?
Yeah, come on. Seriously.
Yeah.
So I think Star Wars is probably safe.
Yeah, Star Wars is gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine.
Now, so back on the speculative sort of side of things, Trey, author of the joke, really a second Death Star. What do you think of the odds of them going back to this sort of Death Star based thing? I hope not.
I
would, if I was reapproaching this, and just full disclosure, I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not involved in this at all.
And if I were, I couldn't tell you.
Yeah. I would be splitting it out more like, if there was going to be an actual military analog to the Death Star, it's like the Pentagon or something. But usually the military involvement in a thing is not that. We put everything in one place-ish. So that they did the Death Star twice, I feel like they could conceivably sort of rearrange how people think of the Empire so it's less, well, all of them are on that ball. I just can't imagine them bringing back the Death Star, but then again, I wouldn't have imagined them doing it in the first place.
Yeah.
So maybe it's just going to be Death Star. Like that's just their own. Like that's their move. It's like they blow up the Death Star again. It's like, what should we do? Rebuild the Death Star. We should rebuild the Death Star.
I certainly hope not. I mean, I can't.
Nah.
I
like that's
that's
all the Empire knows
if
how to
that's
do.
the case, if we see any promotional materials where there's a Death Star, I'm like, oh,
Yeah, I'm
really?
out. I'll actually be out if I see
yeah,
a Death
really?
All right. Well, maybe they know. Let's give them the benefit of the doubt and say they
Yeah.
know that, and they're gonna subvert that expectation or subvert that idea.
Maybe they could pull the Darksaber thing. That's a cool idea.
What if
What's the Darksaber
Wait,
thing?
The Darksaber
You're
is
not talking about
basically
the Sun
like,
Crusher, are you?
huh?
The Sun Crusher?
No, the Darksaber was basically okay, so building that giant ball is kind of dumb and unnecessary. How about we just build the gun and fly that around? And so the Darksaber was just the Death Star weapon as its own ship flying around. So.
That would have been, I presume, the sequel to Pacific Rim had they ever gotten to one. It's like, we've got helicopters that fly the robots with the weapons to the monsters. What if we skip that middle bit and just put the weapons on our helicopters? Wouldn't that be a lot easier?
Actually,
you're right.
that's funny on the theme of like what would be your deal breaker detail where it's like, okay, this is as close to absolute fuck that
That
as
actually
I
would
can get.
be a shot of a Death Star.
Mine would be like if in the first trailer, which they're gonna make, which that's a mistake. If it's like there's a time travel storyline going on in this movie, out.
Yeah. No.
Now I'm not like. Bear in mind, in this particular context, out means I'm just that pissed. I'll still
Yeah.
see it,
Yeah.
but that would be the thing where I'm like,
but not opening day.
right? It's a soft.
That'll show 'em.
Admittedly, it's a soft threat, but if there's a time travel plot, it's like, oh,
Yeah.
damn it.
Well, that's the thing. I would hope they started by going, okay, what are the don'ts? Like, okay, we're not doing this. We're not doing that. We're not. Okay. I mean, I have no prediction about what it will be about. We can certainly talk about. I sure hope they don't freaking do this or this or this.
Time travel.
A la, it's like, no, please don't make Ghostbusters 3 all about the birth of Slimer because, Jesus Christ, stop. You're just wanking now. You're just that's as navel gazy as you get. In the sense
that's like how Family Matters became about Urkel.
Exactly.
Like, no, stop it.
It's like, there's that thing they love. Let's make it about that all the time.
Yeah.
It's just like the original, the prequel trilogy is kind of like, seriously, do we really need any of this shit? This is, we've talked about that before. It's like none of this matters. But since the prequels do exist, every time I look, they're there. They're not going away. Clearly, we're stuck with them. What was interesting there was interesting ideas in the prequels. I will absolutely give it that. The idea that the Empire didn't start back at the Big Bang. The Empire was created.
A recent political phenomenon.
Yeah, the Empire was created out of what was originally meant to be a benign thing, a good, positive thing, and the Republic became the Empire by a series of political machinations. Yeah. And the analogy to Nazi Germany is clearly there and valid. So it's like, okay, well, with that as the broad picture, because Star Wars, the original trilogy, was able to start with there's the good guys, and then there's the guys who are rebellion against the bad guys, and so these guys are all the technology and all the organization, and they're clearly the Nazis, and these guys are like the ragtag group of freedom fighters, blah 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 blah. And that was the story about how the ragtag group of freedom fighters, defeated the evil empire. Okay, well, this is after that. This is 30 years later.
Ooh.
What has gone on in this global world? What is the new society that has formed in the vacuum of the loss of this empire?
And now the entire universe is this like occupied Afghanistan thing.
Well, that's the thing. Is like there needs.
I've been thinking. I was like, as you were saying that, I was like, oh my god, Catherine Bigelow should make a Star Wars movie.
Clearly, there needs to be some kind of new threat. Now, I hope it's not like a guy with his face painted with a lightsaber who's gonna cut everybody in half. I hope it's something bigger than that. But yeah, it's. I think the trilogy is going to stand or fall, and like, okay, well, what's the story? In the broadest possible sense, what is this about?
It totally hadn't occurred to me until you said that there's going to have to be a new threat, and what that threat is going to dictate all of this.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. So whether or not that's interesting, whether or not
it's going to be a new Death Star,
threat,
clearly,
and whether or not, and whether or not these new characters are people you want to watch, they have cast actors I like watching. So there is that aspect to it. That's promising.
And as long as it's okay what the big picture is, I mean, it's like that was the beauty of the simplicity of Star Wars. Is like they went to that very simple. Before George Lucas, felt the need to explain it all to us. It's like, look, these are the bad guys. They're because they're bad. Look, they blew up a planet, right? What else do you need? Good. Bad guys. These are the good guys. They're all kind of young and pretty, and they're fun, and we like them. Good guys. Okay, let's watch them fight. That was the first movie. That's all it was. Exactly.
Bash.
Bashing the action figures before the action figures existed. Well, again, if you could just without belaboring the point, give us a new conflict and let us see some interesting characters be in that conflict. Great.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Yeah.
Pandora went with like resources, or Avatar went with a problem that's predicated on resources and like strip mining a whole civilization, and that's the conflict, which I guess is just another way of saying empire.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to think of what kind of conflict can be big enough.
Well, building off of Trey's...
Bear in mind, this is for the trilogy shit. I'm not saying we need to have these big world-ending conflicts on all the little spin-off movies. Opposite of that, please.
No,
but for the trilogy itself, what would the
what's
thing
the
be?
saga thing? Building off of Trey's Nazi Germany analogy, it seems like the way to go would be, okay, so they defeated the Empire, and they made the New Republic.
Oh.
No, I was going to say they made the New Republic, and the New Republic has been around for 30 years, and the Expanded Universe kind of does this a little bit. Then the New Republic starts getting corrupted and falling back towards Empire land. And so the new trilogy would start with the old heroes going, shit, we got to do this all over again because the Republic we built, that we spent 30 years building, is now sliding backwards towards a dictatorship. But we're too old to fight, so thank God we have this young generation.
Wouldn't that mess with Leia's head?
Yeah.
That would be fantastic. Oh, God darn it, really? Now I would be like, I told you.
Jeremy in the chat room.
What if they're the ones who become the villains?
Jeremy in the chat room just cracked me up. He's like, "How uncivilized! Now I'll write a lizard."
Yeah, like I could.
If the original characters essentially became the villains that they had to, they had to move against,
I could see.
It'd be kind of amazing.
What if they fucking founded a cult? You don't know if they didn't.
I was gonna.
You have to prove they didn't.
I was gonna go with post Civil War or post Berlin, where the idea of like, okay, anyone who was part of that shit, we are going to punish you so hard that you're going to hate life for the next century. It's like, well, that's not good either, you guys.
So like not even the Berlin Wall, but like more like the interwar period.
That is the era of the Berlin Wall in terms of the Berlin airlift is what I'm thinking about. The Berlin airlift, where we punished Berlin so hard that we were literally starving Berlin to death, and the world had to go. Actually, that's because Soviet Union was blockading Berlin, and the rest of the world said, well, that's not actually good either. It's like, Jesus, that's just the civilians you're punishing now. That sucks. Right. So or
the difference
post Civil War Reconstruction, where the North punished the South. We didn't just defeat them in the war, but it's like, no, we're going to keep you under our heel for the next foreseeable future.
The difference between World War I, the end of World War I, and the end of World War II, where after World War I, we said, okay, Germany, you lost, so you have to pay for everything.
Yeah.
And that created the conditions which led to World War II. And so World War II ended, and we went, let's not do that one again.
Yeah,
maybe
let's do a Marshall Plan.
But the Russians didn't get that memo, so they did it. And the rest of us had to go, no, don't do that. And the Russians were like, oh, well, we're at war with you now. Oh, great. So here we go.
Maybe after the Empire fell, they like populated multiple planets with nothing but prisoners of war. With like they just put all the Empire people in prison on these huge prison planets.
Here's the thing. It's like if you asked us, cause we were talking once about
Australia planets.
We were talking once about
Dave.
Doing like just doing little sessions where it's like, let's try and come up with Avatar 2 or whatever, just as like a thought experiment.
Yeah.
And you asked me to come up with Avatar 2. I'm like, I don't know what else you can do with that. But Star Wars is like, we could talk for days about the things that they can do in Star Wars.
The more we talk about what it could be, the sadder I'm going to get that I'm not writing.
Right.
It.
Yeah.
So.
But you can't.
Game of Thrones season 4 is a lesson to us all.
Yeah.
Don't get too in love with this technological terror you've constructed.
Don't start writing it because you're not writing it.
Yeah. And just try not to think about it for the next 18 months and then go, oh, cool, new Star Wars movie. That's right. I totally forgot they were making that. I can't wait to see it.
Yeah.
I forgot there's a new Star Wars coming out.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Oh, man. That's good. That's like I just did like a bullseye impression of myself in 6 months. I did. I totally did.
I mean, you're making the joke, but I'm going to try to do that as much as I can. Willfully.
We're going and
I tried to do that willfully with Gravity. Like, okay, I know this is a thing, and I'm going to do my best to forget about it until the day comes.
Do you guys want to enter into a blood pact where we all agree not to watch any trailers? It'll be fucking difficult.
I'm gonna have to watch at least the first trailer. I have to
Yeah.
watch at least the first trailer.
Yeah.
That's
You're
part
weak.
of the.
You're weak.
That's part of the experience. That's part of Star Wars. That's like the extended overture. It's like I've got to watch at least the first.
Is
trailer.
vibrating with excitement for 4 months.
Yes, exactly. So.
Hey, remember Episode 1 trailer was pretty kick-ass.
Exactly.
It was.
They make good trailers one way or the other, so I don't want to miss that.
Right. That's the people. I feel more worried for the marketing department. Whoever's cutting that first trailer, I fear for their sanity more than the people who are making the movie itself. Let's talk about being second guessed. Oh my God. Okay, look, we're gonna lose 2 frames off the first cut, but we need to add a frame to that second shot.
I have secondhand knowledge. That is, I know someone who. I have secondhand knowledge of the process of cutting a trailer for a JJ movie, with JJ being in the room with you while you cut it.
Oh wow!
And that movie's trailer ended up going through like 90 iterations.
Yeah.
Like not just tweaks, like iterations. God help the poor bastard cutting the Star Wars trailer. The first, like the teaser.
Yeah. It's
like not even like the international trailer where it's like, okay, we've pretty much played our hand here. You know it's going to be in the movie.
Yeah.
Here's it all together in one 3-minute thing.
And
like the first, like the episode 1 teaser for this movie.
Right. And even more so because on episode 7, I mean, this goes completely without saying, but money is absolutely no object. They will keep throwing money at it until they have to release it. And if that means, nope, do it again. It's going to cost you $10,000 to cut it again. Don't fucking care. Do it 3 times and show them all to me. Well, in fact, just show me the third one, but do it 3 times.
Yeah.
I don't even care. Like, that's the way they're going to...
I'm going to bring in Walter Murch and just pay him to be here on call every day.
Yeah.
Someone right now should be...
I'm going to bring in Walter Murch just to stare at you. I'm going to pay him his full salary.
Yeah, and he'll just look at you. Someone should just create an algorithm right now that just takes the rough cut and just randomly assembles shots, and you just keep punching the button. Just like, yeah, okay, here's trailer 95. Here's trailer 96. Here's trailer 97. Oh, I like the way you started with the end credits there. I know it was kind of a radical way to go with it. But
one of the things that we haven't, like, it hasn't really come up that often. It's basically the only place it's occupied in this conversation so far.
Sorry, Lamporvis says, are they going to do a Comic-Con panel? I am not going to Comic-Con.
Yeah, really.
They do the panel.
First of all, you have to be in line now for that Comic-Con panel, so forget it.
Actually, you're too late.
Yeah,
it turns out you're too late.
It is.
There's a line.
The line
right
outside
now.
of Hall H right now, where there's a dentist convention going on at the moment.
Just a bunch of guys in shorts with Star Wars shirts.
Yeah, already camped out.
Yeah.
Get it?
It's only been like spoken of as a detail in this conversation about Star Wars coming back. Like it showed up on lists of things we know about Episode 7, but that's kind of all. But the thing that I'm honestly as excited about as all of this is I cannot wait to hear new John Williams Star Wars tunes.
Yeah.
Cannot wait because for the same reason, like they're gonna kill off Han, Luke, and Leia. I'm telling you,
he's only signed for the first one.
Right?
Yeah,
there's there are composers who will destroy this. It will be great when John Williams leaves or dies. It's gonna be fine. I'm just so fucking stoked that we're gonna hear at least one more round of John Williams doing this
because he's coming in the energy that, and it's a little sad. I mean we've been very mean to George Lucas on this show, but
not
so,
today though.
No, not today. But I mean,
because he finally did the right thing.
Yeah, I really do get a sense that there were so many people who were like, "I'm just done with Star Wars. I don't care." Like, because first of all, I don't think George really cared by the end, and like everybody kind of felt that and was like, "Whatever." So like, I felt like John Williams was kind of phoning it in towards the end. Just sort of everybody was, and now I think the fact that he gave it to other people who were like, no, we actually care. That's what got so many people. That's what got the original cast to come back.
Yeah.
That's what got John Williams to go, oh, yes, I will do this.
Well, that was on the subject of that exact thing.
But I'm excited because now John Williams is going to be coming in excited about it as opposed to just like, all right, yeah.
And presumably being given direction and shit, like working. He's being crafted. Like it was on this particular topic, it was a really interesting thing that got said, like, at 4 a.m. during the Malariathon, movie 4 or 5-ish, something like that, where Alex from Uncomposed was on. And I was asking him questions about the score in the first 2 Potter movies, because Williams did those. And also, aside from the main theme, and like Hedwig's theme, and maybe like 1 or 2 others, the cues that are, memorable, most of the music in that is kind of flat and uninspired.
No, I didn't even like Hedwig's theme, but it grows on you because
it's so memorable,
Potter
right?
Theme. Yeah.
And I was just like asking Alex, what would account for someone who's as like excellent, as invented the genre of film scoring as John Williams, kind of not really, like, we just sort of assumed he was excellent, period. Like every time, this isn't that, what's going on? And he's like, you realize composers think of composers like they're actors. You have to direct them. If you come at them with a kind of a flat affect directorially, and like, for instance, the way maybe, and I don't want to say anything that's too mean, the way maybe Chris Columbus would direct a movie, if that director is directing the composer, you're going to get the movie equivalent of the music in that thing. Like John Williams isn't just going to like create these perfect things without working on the theme and being crafted and directed and all that shit. And I can imagine that towards the end of the prequels, there was sort of just the assumption that John was going to do his thing, and John just kind of did the easy template version of the stuff that wasn't a huge cue. And then,
but then what do you think
just getting him all psyched? I am psyched that he's getting psyched about Star Wars.
Yeah.
But then what do you think the process between Williams and Lucas was for the very first Star Wars in 1975, when they were actually making it?
Among other things, for Star Wars in the first place, which sort of set the precedent that they would later follow, so it only has to matter once. In Star Wars, George told John, "Oh my God, we need the music must save this movie." Like, if you actually go back and watch Star Wars with an eye towards what the music is doing in the movie, it's like massively overscored.
Yeah.
We love all that music, but it's massively overscored. As an actual like editorial choice, that thing is wall-to-wall music. It's a goddamn opera.
Yeah.
Opera.
Which is why
in space.
But once you set up a precedent where it's like, John, this entire thing is going to live or die on the music you write for it. He's like, and you know, he's young and has something to prove still. This isn't, 45 Oscar nominations later.
Yeah.
That was not, I don't think that's even a fake number. I think it's literally like in the 40s. This was like, dude, prove yourself. And also score the entire movie. And also it has to be perfect. Go. And then when Star Wars came out and was a huge hit, then it's like, well, that's just the sound of Star Wars. Always try. Always try. And then when the prequels came out,
well, again, that was so counter to how people were making movies at the time.
Just fucking bombastic and huge and
and old school, because it was like, oh, it's sci-fi. Well, that means you pull out the theremin and you get the Moog synthesizer. And
but this was like
together.
10 Commandments, but in space.
Yeah, it's like I want to be old school with it. Just like again, famously another movie that people need to give a lot of credit to the soundtrack is Back to the Future. Where Zemeckis specifically said to in that case it was Silvestri said, look, I've got a movie about a kid driving around his hometown talking to his parents. I need something to make this feel bigger. So they went crazy full orchestral with this tiny plot, and that's what makes the movie feel more epic than it would have otherwise.
Yeah, I think part of the as I recall the behind the scenes story, I think it was episode 2 that kind of killed it for Williams, because he wrote a full score for it, but then George kept changing the movie and not giving him time to rewrite the score, so he just would chop up the score and reuse stuff from episode 1 and stuff like that. And
you don't do that to a composer. You don't do that to any composer. You don't do that to John.
Yeah, and John Williams was like, they had this relationship going back all the way, and he wrote a formal complaint letter being like, hey, just for the record, this
Not
is
good.
some bullshit, and I just want everybody to know that this is bullshit.
If you pulled this with a composer no one had ever heard of, it would still be bullshit.
Yeah.
Same kind of shit was what made Drew Struzan go, you know what? I can paint naked ladies on my own time.
Yeah.
I don't got anything to prove anymore.
Right.
I'll just do that.
Yeah.
I'm fine.
Oh God, it'd be cool if they got Struzan.
Didn't they say
how
they're
could they
working on
not
it?
get Struzan?
I thought they said they had.
Did they? I hadn't
I
seen that.
thought I heard.
I would
they
be.
had.
I would be
remember
over the
hearing
moon
that.
if that was the case.
I remember hearing that rumor. I don't know
Yeah.
if it's confirmed or not.
If anything could bring Drew Struzan, who's a really pleasant and nice guy, but he had his full of that shit, back from retirement, at least semi-officially, to do a Star Wars movie, it would be J.J. Abrams directing a Star Wars movie and saying, Struzan, you've been fucked over by the photoshopped floating heads thing for so long.
Yeah.
We're doing a Star Wars movie. Would you please
help us make
would you
it
please
Star Wars.
bring some of the pain?
Yeah.
We would like you to bring that pain that you
Yeah,
often
yeah.
bring.
Back at the end of May, they announced that
Struzan's doing it?
Struzan's.
Yeah. I mean, how could he not?
Oh, this is the shit.
Yeah, that's right.
I am so psyched.
But it's really interesting because what he's doing is he's doing two characters facing each other, and it's all orange and teal.
Yeah.
it's really gonna be.
Or
really cool.
maybe that's still just a rumor. I see some saying he will, and a couple saying maybe. So
yeah, you know how the season of Game of Thrones is going to end? I can totally tell you right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Faldor points out that Struzan worked with Abrams on Super.
Yeah, I mean, Struzan just has stopped being like, yes, I'll take a gig painting posters. It's like now he can pick and choose and go, all right, that floats my boat. I'll do that one. That's fun.
Yeah.
So.
Shit, Bill Watterson came out of retirement to do a comic strip,
Yeah,
and no one noticed until after.
Yeah, just to go, why not?
Oh my God, I'm so psyched about Star Wars.
Good. Now just put
Now
that in the
forget about
corner
it.
Yeah, put that
for
in-
18 months.
put that in a box.
God,
And
is
just-
it really
just
8?
keep
we
that
gotta
box
wait.
Well, I
18
know. Is it?
months.
It is.
It's Christmas.
They said
2015.
December.
Christmas 2015.
Christmas
So yeah.
2015. So, well, I mean,
Oh man.
We're
to
going
me,
to see a
that-
teaser at Christmas.
the hard part,
Yeah.
certainly. The hard part though is going to be.
Yeah, they
is-
got 6 months to put together a teaser. It's sad that I'm
yeah.
like,
I mean,
that's plenty of
they're
time.
going to be
but it is.
shooting, and they're going to be shooting until September, and that was without the possible
Harrison
mix up
Ford,
with
yeah.
Harrison's delay. But they were going to be on set till September. That was already the schedule.
Yeah,
My
but they're,
favorite-
they're already producing the temps for the
Oh,
teaser,
sure,
though.
of course
Yeah.
they are. But
That was my favorite catty tweet about that, which it's totally mean-spirited, but it was, Oh, big surprise! Another old Ford fell apart.
Oh, boom, zing.
Found on roadside ditch. Okay. Anyway,
Pow.
or fixed or repaired daily. Ford gets a lot of shit as a car company. Moving on.
Well, and sometimes rightly so, but because they're no Chevy. Am I right? Come on. My first car was a Chevy Nova. I have to fly the flag.
Represent.
Chevy Nova is a pretty awesome car. But, and someone needs to make more movies about the Chevy Nova. Hasn't been in enough movies.
It'll be a Transformer.
Well,
Yeah.
oh god.
So
if there are any Loot Crate fans out there, so I edited a Loot Crate video that was a little Transformers parody thing. It was like Brobot, and so Zach Finfrock like comes out and he's like, his car is a Transformer, but it's a robot, so it's the most obnoxious Transformers robot you've ever seen in your life. And it wasn't.
I don't know.
Well, that's exactly the thing. It's like, it's a complete frat boy kind of a Transformer, and that's the whole joke, is that this Transformer is a terrible, terrible person. And it wasn't until after he was like, wait a second, that as a personality of an individual is still not as bad as the actual Transformer personality. The satire about how terrible the Transformers personalities are still not as bad as the actual Transformers in the movies. Fuck those movies so much.
Which takes us back to the could Star Wars be so bad that it kills a franchise? Well, there's Transformers exist in our world, so
and will not stop. They've already announced the fourth one's not even out yet, but they're like, "Fuck you, you know that."
I actually can't watch this fucking Transformers. I actually saw a clip for the first time. Someone posted on the forum. There was a clip from Transformers 2, which I was blissfully had never seen, and I saw like 8 seconds of Transformers 2, and I was like, "Wow, my mental picture of what crap that movie was not even close to what really happens in that movie based on that 8-second clip that I just saw."
Transformers really is Poe's law of how bad movies are.
Yeah, it's
huge worldwide. Work in any language.
And the fact because it's just pretty, and and this is changing now, but up until recently, one of the reasons.
Would you say transforming?
One of the reasons
transformative.
Oh, he looks mad at me. Ooh.
One of the reasons that that those kinds of movies do so well overseas is that up until recently, that getting it from us, importing it from us, was the only way to see those kinds of movies. Like now, we've started outsourcing, so they've learned all our tricks, and now they can do it themselves.
They can make their own crappy action movies.
Yeah,
now.
but up until recently, it was, if you wanted to see a movie with
that kind of stuff in it,
a drum set falling down the stairs, then you had to watch the American.
You had to buy American.
You had to buy American, and
we used to have the edge on that.
Yeah,
we used to hold the world's edge on that. Yeah. Just like Cars, we used to have the exclusive, crappy, overblown movie thing. But now we've lost.
And that's like Edge of Tomorrow is not doing well here, but it's doing great overseas. Thank goodness.
Thank goodness. Yeah.
Probably because in other languages it has a real title. Like they just renamed it.
Edge of Tomorrow is a great title.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's not a good title at all. But
compared to All You Need Is Kill.
Okay, well that's not fair.
That's not fair. That's not a great title either. But
I'm not saying that was a good title. I'm just saying neither of those are good.
I'm just saying the title is not helping, but it's still that's a whole other topic for a whole other podcast. It's like, what's wrong with you people?
Oh, dude.
It's like the day that I was excited. Like, at least Edge of Tomorrow has passed blended at the American box office, and the fact that it took 9 days to get to that point, and it feels like we're celebrating it. It's like, what is wrong?
You know what we might the next major leakish thing might end up being is the title.
Yeah,
it's not going to be called Episode 7. It's going to be called Star Wars something.
Yeah, The Creeping Fear. Didn't you hear?
Yeah.
Kingdom of the Gods.
I remember that April Fool's Day.
Valley of the Kings.
I remember that.
No, it wasn't. Someone just keeps trolling.
Originally it was an April Fool's joke.
Oh, was it?
From
Star Wars. Just eat it.
Yeah, it was Lucasfilm or Lucasfilm.net or StarWars.net or whatever. That was the official news, but it was an April Fool's joke. Yeah.
Star Wars 7. Like it matters.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
Star Wars 7. Money symbol, money symbol, money symbol, exclamation mark. Or actually, hashtag money symbol, money symbol, exclamation mark.
Yeah. What it's going to be is you know how people get the kanji tattoos and they're like, it means peace. Totally doesn't, though.
Yeah.
It just means some gibberish. They're going to translate one of those, and then it's going to be like...
It means I taste like monkey.
Edge of Tomorrow is a good title for Star Wars.
Yeah.
Star Wars Episode 7, Edge of Tomorrow.
Yeah, Star
Then
Wars.
It works.
Yeah,
yes, that would work.
Aha! I solved 2 problems. Dig me.
Yeah. So
Star Wars
episode 7.
And then just run Edge of Tomorrow.
Star Wars episode 7, Dog Park Bouncy Castle. Like, I'm still gonna go see it. You're not? I'm gonna see it.
Monkey Swizzle Stick.
Yeah.
Star Wars episode 7, The Return of Jogurt Salami. All right.
I like them being good. Like, people are always bothered by the titles. They're like, well, what the hell kind of title is that? And because it's always about like the really overblown melodramatic movie serial titles. I like that. I'm looking forward to hearing what kind of like stupid sounding nonsense the title is, because it probably will be kind of like, it always sounds dumb.
I recall you being the only person I knew who was defending the title Attack of the Clones at the time.
Well,
yeah,
I'm okay with that in the sense. The only problem with Attack of the Clones was the fact that the clones didn't attack.
Yeah, they were the good guys.
Yeah.
Well, and that was closer to me. For me, it's like I still don't know what the Phantom Menace was.
Yeah.
I still. What was exactly the Phantom Menace?
That is the problem with those titles. It's like you can have the title like that, but it's got to mean something.
Yeah,
you can't just say things.
Revenge of the Sith. Yeah, that happened. You know, it's like The Empire Strikes Back. Yeah, the movie was about that. That was great.
Yeah, Empire Strikes Back sure did.
Yeah, they certainly did. But yeah, Phantom Menace. I have no idea. So yeah,
it's the Sith. That's the official
Rise of the Sith
it's
or
supposed
something.
to be. Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were saying that was your pitch for like an episode 7 title. Episode 7. It's the Sith.
Yeah,
in that
the
beautiful
Sith.
like Trajan font.
Yeah.
It's the Sith.
No,
that
that
happens.
Yeah,
Brought to you by Seagrams. It doesn't matter, but yeah.
Star Wars Episode 7 by Colgate.
Brought to you by JetBlue.
The Colgate Star Wars Hour.
Yeah.
Oh,
Again,
man.
it's all good. It's all fine.
Yeah,
It doesn't matter.
because
be
a year
great.
later we're gonna get to see another one. So.
Yeah, it doesn't matter because Ryan Johnson's gonna make one, and and the guy who made Monsters is gonna make one, and what the hell? And
No one's gonna let Mike choreograph.
I
Damn
know.
it.
And where's that TV series? That's got to be coming soon. Not counting even the Rebels
Agents
cartoon,
of Jedi.
the cartoon that they're doing already, which is already well underway, is the Rebel cartoon. So you got that going on. It's like pop up books and juice boxes. It's all there. It's all happening.
And
You
now
can have all the Star Wars you want and then some.
and let us never speak of this again.
Yes.
I don't want to think.
We'll
about
see
it.
y'all in.
Oh yeah, no,
18
I
or
got
so
20
months.
bucks that says we never talk about Star Wars again.
Yeah, right.
Like we're gonna go ahead and put a bow on it.
Because civilization will end by the time.
I want to try not to until we're doing a commentary for episode 7. Like I really want to try.
But again, if we can leave you with
so weird.
if
I
we
know. That's going to be the weirdest thing where it's like, so we're going to do another Star Wars commentary.
But we are agreed that we are doing that commentary the day that Blu-ray comes out.
Oh, yeah.
Yes?
Yeah.
Like that's immediate,
for sure.
right?
Why are we agreeing to that?
Cuz
What if it sucks?
Even more so.
Then we got to talk about it. Regardless.
I'm not going to sign on to that pact. I'm not going to sign on sight
Trey, it's
unseen.
Star Wars. You got to sign on.
I do not have to sign on. That's the beauty of the whole thing. Is that was when I turned that corner in my life and like I don't even have to acknowledge everything in Star Wars.
Pick a
That's
side. We're in
so
Star Wars.
awesome. I know. It's a Star Wars. Pick a side. I just I've said everything I need to say about Star Wars with my own movie. Call me Lucasfilm. It's like Ryan Johnson hasn't even made an entire Star Wars movie. I have.
Trey's actually made a Star
I've
Wars
actually
trilogy.
made one already.
George liked it.
Yeah, George liked it. So yeah. I think I'm holding out for the TV series. I'm not going to get a movie, but TV series, yes, I want to be on the TV series.
Man.
I'm
Damn
going
it.
to go pitch them the TV series. It's about a girl Jedi / fighter pilot.
/ Valley Girl.
And it might go a little something like this.
Every time I spend any time, this morning I was like, I don't really, Star Wars, we'll see when it comes out. I'm not going to get excited about it now. Every time I think about it for like more than 10 consecutive seconds, I get all psyched about it.
Yeah, I'm really upset by how excited this conversation is making.
Right? I have that warm, like, heroin veins feeling where I'm like, Star Wars is coming.
Damn it.
Yeah.
I was 5 years clean.
Yeah, I had 10 years sober.
Yeah.
Well, we're not getting any good Star Trek anytime soon, so
No.
might
Yeah.
as well.
Boy.
I don't know. J.J. Abrams is busy with other
Yeah,
stuff.
talk about.
Well, no,
okay,
but
can
they-
can we flip on that? Yeah,
Yeah.
because it's like
But
of all
who
the
did you
potentially
hear who's
good
getting
news
it now?
of all the potentially good news about Star Wars, like oh Ryan Johnson, nice, Gareth Edwards, sweet, J.J. Abrams, hey, that's not even bad. Meanwhile, over at Star Trekville, holy moly!
So if you, after Into Darkness came out, if you came to me and said, Brian, what are your top 5 like worst possibilities for
What
directing
could
the
be
next
worse
one?
than what's already
What could be
happened?
worse than what has already
Wait, did they
happened?
name it?
I would
No.
no. This is what I would have thought about and given you 5, and then you would have said, what if they gave it to Roberto Orci I wouldn't have put that on my
Who
original
has never
5.
so much as directed Traffic, as far as I know.
Who has, as far as we know, never directed a
All right.
frame of fucking anything.
You
And
just
a
wanted
web
it to be
series.
Samuel Jackson. A goddamn thing.
Goddamn
And
thing.
has written some of the worst trashy movies of the past decade.
And then when the random assholes on the internet say, "Hey, your shit sucks," he actually like gets upset and gets on the internet and fights them about it and calls them, and just is this weird like immature,
Yeah,
lack,
that's the problem.
lack of
Yeah.
self-control thing.
It's like
Ah.
take a cue from Ryan Johnson. Ryan Johnson's reaction.
Yeah, Ryan
To the
Johnson's
announcement
reaction was class.
was
like,
perfect.
Yeah, you know what? No, thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys, but no thanks.
No, his
Oh.
reaction to being named the director yesterday on Twitter.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I thought you were
Right.
referencing
To us.
again how
Yeah.
Ryan Johnson to us.
No,
His
right.
reaction to us was pretty good,
His
too.
reaction to us was great too. No, I'm not even discounting
Yeah.
that, but I'm talking about Ryan Johnson. Suddenly everyone was like, "Who?" and ran to see if he was on Twitter. And he already had the clip from the right stuff up of Scott Glenn going, "Please don't let me fuck this up." It's
Yeah.
like that's the spirit, dude. That's the
Yeah.
way to go into it.
Yeah,
You know.
and
And what a
God.
great way to confirm it, too, because otherwise it was just going to be up in the air. Like, I don't know, he didn't confirm it, so it could just be like, yep.
Jeremy in the chat room. I'd just give the whole franchise to the Dread 3D people. See what happens.
Yeah, why not?
Give one to them,
Yeah, absolutely.
right?
I want to see a Lord
Sure.
Miller Star Wars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why not?
About Ewoks.
Everyone
Make it
is
work.
going to make
That's
a
the
Star
thing.
Wars movie.
Let the Farrelly brothers make the comedy
Yeah.
Star Wars movie. Just go with it. Just run with it. But the
Mm.
the whole the Orchie thing is like I hope somebody is we just did Overnight. I hope somebody is covering documenting that, because if anything is going to be the new Overnight. Oh, you thought Boondock Saints was a thing. Wait till you see the behind the scenes documentary about the making of Star Trek 3 and what happened there. Oh my God, brace yourself.
Star Trek 13.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Or whichever. But
Man, I'm still psyched.
so it's like it's as
Star
much-
Trek.
It's let's be grateful that hey, Star Wars, at least they're making really interesting, bold, okay, they didn't hire an Asian woman, okay,
Yeah.
I mean, hello internet, we know about that, but it's like
I hope they do.
they're making really well. There aren't any Asian women who are at that. Unfortunately, that's just
Jim Cameron.
yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
He could just do it as in motion capture, and they could turn him into an Asian woman. But
Andy Serkis can play Yoda.
at least they're making interesting choices with Star Wars that they certainly aren't making
Yeah.
right now with Star Trek.
Yes.
Well, it's
And-
interesting. It's just not good.
Yeah,
It's interesting in a-
interesting in the
in a horrifying
Chinese
sense.
curse way
Yeah.
of "I hope you live an interesting life." Like, oh, that's wow, ouch.
Yes. So any hope I had said before Ortsy was announced, if Quaron ends up getting picked for Star Trek 3 and does it, I will legitimately reconsider my position in the existence of God. And
that would be something.
The Quaron doing a Star Trek movie is like just my brain explodes.
I hope he does a Star Wars movie.
Quaron doing a
could do
Star Wars movie
too, yeah.
could be the second coming of Jesus.
But
I think that might be
needless to
something.
say, that did not happen.
Or it might
so.
it might suck balls.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter. That's the beautiful thing. Because there'll be another one the next weekend.
This is our free at last moment.
Yeah.
We're just so fucking psyched.
I'm psyched about what he's talking about mainly, where it's like I don't actually have to care that much
Right.
about
Yeah.
each
You are
individual
free not to give a shit.
one. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fine if one of them sucks.
Yeah.
It's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
It's no longer screwing with the percentages.
Again, if the takeaway is like Star Wars in 10 years is like Marvel movies now. That's where we're going. That's what it's going to be like. You can like the ones you like. You can ignore the ones that were stupid
Mm.
and go on with your
And
life.
there will be both.
Yeah.
Joe Gart Salami 2, The Dark World.
Yes.
Yeah.
Edge
that'll
of
be-
yesterday.
I'm starting to feel like I'm not going to like the Jogurt Salami series here. I'm starting to feel like those are
Well,
going to be the ones
when
I
they went to
ignore.
the second one and it was just a retread of the first
Yeah.
one, that really
It's a
was
runaway hit.
disappointing.
I would like to see Brana do a Star Wars film, though. That'd be really
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah.
The camera would be sideways the whole time.
Yeah. But in space, that makes a little more sense.
Hell, I'll watch Ang Lee's Star Wars. I'll give him the shot. Go for it.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Neil Marshall Star Wars. I can go for that too.
Anybody.
Everybody.
Joss
gets
Whedon
Star
gets a
Wars
shot.
movie.
Why not? Do it.
There's only two things they have to do, man. Show up for work and try hard, and also not let Mike choreograph.
Yeah.
That's in the contract.
Yeah, man. They signed up for it. That was one of the things JJ, like when he was like, I get to call the shots here. That was one of his things.
No, that was a condition on Lucas's part when he sold to Marvel. It's like,
Never.
In fact,
no.
they're gonna
Not
gonna
them.
let Brandon and Nate choreograph all of
I
them.
know.
Well,
I'll try and sneak
actually,
on
if
the set
any-
with,
and
a
you'll be like,
mustache.
You'll be like, can I get on the set? And they'll be like, we
Actually, if anything is going to kill us all as far as any participation, it's the fact that Ryan Johnson right now is in an office going, okay, look, there's 4 douchebags whose names I do not ever want to hear.
That's so fucking weird.
Yep, there you go.
But at least he's talking about it.
Yeah, that's nice.
in this joke.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, we should wrap this up. It's been an hour and 40, and god damn it. Man, I'm psyched. Okay.
But the good news
Stop
is
it.
we're not going to do this again next week.
Yes.
We've just talked about Star Wars for the next 18 months.
Yes, I'm gonna get my 18-month chip
Yeah.
by the time episode 7 comes out. Damn
Yeah,
it.
it's like someone.
And then you go walk up to the box office and catch that fucker.
Yeah,
in.
exactly.
That's right.
It's like after like alcohol poisoning after a life as an alcoholic. It's like the doctor says if I have one more drink, my kidney will explode and I'll die.
Mhm.
Yeah.
If we talk about Star Wars one more second, I'll just keel over and never get to see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Fuck yes. All right, cool.
Coming.
This has been The Intermission. You can always find more episodes of other things, but also this at friendsinyourhead.com. Go to the forum. It's a wonderful community of people, and it's growing every single week. Great people. Twitter.com/friendsinyourhead, Facebook Friends in Your Head, and friendsinyourhead@gmail.com. Buy our shirts. There's lots of good shirts. Buy shirts. Buy a Tokes and Stokes shirt so that I can give Trey $1 for his likeness.
That'd be sweet.
And I'm just getting paid to exist.
Yeah.
That's the good deal.
I've been waiting for that my whole life.
The website is designed and maintained by our friend Holden Hill. And until next time, my name is Teague Christie.
Brian Finifter.
Nice cap.
Trey Stokes.
And this has been The Intermission. Thank you very much for listening. Good night, good night. Iris out. Written and directed by someone other than George Lucas. Oh, man. The first thing that's going to happen in the movie is dun, 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 dun,
Yeah.
dun. You're going to get that like
And the next thing is,
the Walt Disney
will it or
logo.
won't it say a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away? Are they going to do the crawl? Are they going to do the opening?
I
Are they
bet
going to
they
use
got-
those tropes?
I'll
For
bet
the-
you they're going to keep the crawl.
Saga,
if
saga
it-
movies will.
Yeah,
The
if
other
it's
ones won't.
numbered, if it's numbered, I would hope they are.
Yeah.
Man.
Saga movies, well, yeah.
I saw some people online being like, I hope they do something new with that. I'm like, shut up. No. That's exactly
the one thing that they should honor.
Yeah.
Is the beginning and the end.
Yeah.
And everything else in the middle is what they should go through.
Yeah.
Because if nothing else, it's a perfect formula. Like,
Yeah.
like the end always end. If you can end with the entire people, like a room of people applauding at the end of your movie, that's a good solid way to get out of it.
Yeah.
With that opening, you can't miss.
Yeah.
And with that ending, the vum-ba-dum-ba-dum, you
It's
can't
not
miss.
If you're gonna make a Star Wars movie and you want people to lose their shit, opening night,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
gotta have the
Just-
fanfare.
And yeah, exactly. And as someone pointed out, it's like that whole, it seems so weird and strange, like that. What is that whole long time ago in a galaxy far, far away? It's like because
It's a fairy
once
tale.
upon a time didn't fit.
Yeah.
Right.
But that's what that means. That's what it means. Like here it comes.
Yeah.
Sit yourself down. I'm going to tell you a story. That's all. It's just a new way of saying once upon a time.
Yeah.
Now, to get specifically nerdy, I wouldn't
Oh.
particularly mind.
No, let's not
Even
have
if
that.
I agree that they have to keep the card and the scroll. I wouldn't particularly mind if they just subtly, no one would notice. There'd be an article on BuzzFeed. Reduced the end thing to just an ellipsis as opposed to the ellipsis
4?
period. Yeah. Dot. I think we can get
Okay,
away with that
wow.
not being there. Like it was a
It'll-
typo in the first one. Like someone
we'll
didn't
do
know.
a whole podcast when that comes up. I'm sure we'll cover that whole. thing.
I'm gonna go down and say it has to be the 4 because that's just Star Wars now. It'd be weird if it were just a
They're
regular.
traditionalists.
Tradition
Yes,
is
yeah.
what it is, man.
It's translation error creeping in, man.
Yeah.
It's shibboleth.
Anyway,
Yeah, that's right.
18 months. See you in 18 months. That's
Bye.
it. We're done.
That's
Stopping
it. No more
now.
Star Wars.